I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
I think I just broke my chair.
He did what?
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
Good morning. Welcome to the latest edition of Snowman in the Morning as we begin a new week. And I'm ready to get this started, and I hope you guys are too. We want you to follow along with Snowman Digital Media. That is the production company for this show, as well as the Daily BS, the NBA podcast, and I got a couple of others on the docket. The ID you need is SNW Digital Media. That's SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. And yes, we are going to use Pinterest a lot more beginning this week. I want to thank my good friend Brandon Wesley from the Unico Exclusive for housing this program. Thank you to Robert Cobb from the Inscriber magazine for distributing this program. Also, thank you to Full Press Coverage as well as RTF, as the RTF Sports Network. Check out Full Press Coverage at fullpresscoverage.com and rtfsportsnetwork.com. Thank you to Arena Sportsnet, that is my one of my parent companies, for distributing this program, as well as Western Reserve Digital Radio, and as well as the iMedia One radio network. Well, I thought football was done after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, but I was wrong. The XFL has returned. And I got to tell you something. I am very impressed. Very, very impressed with this edition of the XFL because, for the simplest of reasons, it concentrates more on the football product as well. Instead of all the fluff of all the sizzle, the Titantrons, as most of you know who watched the XFL in 2001, the stadiums were kind of set up the same way. Even the cavernous Los Angeles Coliseum, they had the fireworks and the Titantrons and the cheerleaders and all that stuff. It gave us the Skycam, which is used by the NFL today. But I got to be honest with you, I am very impressed with this edition of the XFL because of the product that's on the field. Because of the product that it's on the field, and one of the biggest changes in this edition of the XFL is that Vince McMahon is no longer seeing day-to-day operations. For that, he called on a football mind in that of Oliver Luck. And the other thing that Vince McMahon did, and something I am taking a lesson from, he invested not only the money, but he invested an entire year of time in promoting the product, in promoting the league, in promoting some of the players that will be involved in the XFL. One of which is Cardale Jones, the former Ohio State Buckeye who won a national championship in 2015. There are some pretty good players, very good players. One of the things I would change, I always talk about shortening the preseason of the NFL. That's what they did, and in thinking about it just now, I wouldn't change that. Some of the rule changes are the kickoffs, and I absolutely love how these kickoffs work. They kick off from the 30-yard line, and what happens is the team that blocks for the returner and the team that charges for the kicking team, they're lined up 5 yards from each other. And no one moves until the ball is caught by the receiver. It encourages returns, and it also eliminates a lot of collisions that result in injuries. If you remember the XFL in 2001, what they did was they had the ball at the 50-yard line, and then 2 players would take off for it and would scramble. It would be a scrum. I said scramble. It would be a scrum for the football. And that produced an immediate injury. An immediate injury that basically took out one of the players. I believe it was for the Las Vegas Outlaws, and cost him his entire season, and I don't think he ever played football again. But this one, there's actually a kickoff. And you don't get a lot of collisions. You don't get a lot. You're still going to risk injury because it is a game of football. It's the roughest sport out there. But it's not a lot of head-on collisions like there were before. It's not a lot of people coming at you in what could be the equivalent of a 100-mile-an-hour car with pads and a helmet, and they come crashing at you. It's none of that. It's an actual structured kickoff, and I'm inclined to think that some of the changes you see in the XFL, the NFL could use. And they speed up the game also. One of the rules I also love is the fact that it is not a 40-second play clock and then a 25-second game clock. No, it is always at 25 seconds. They still play 15-minute quarters, and they eliminated a timeout also. So instead of 3 timeouts per half, you're only allowed 2. You know, one of the taglines that they use is "for the love of football," and "no stall, just ball." I'm actually liking this. I'm actually liking this version of the XFL. A question I posed in my head: is this version going to last? The way it looks right now, I say yes. I say the fans can get behind this version, and except for the New York Guardians, who used MetLife Stadium, the Dallas Renegades, who used, I believe they used the Cotton Bowl, which seats 90,000, they can get behind this. They can get behind this. The stadiums are smaller for the most part, and they can sell out. They can actually sell out. If they are affordable enough, we can talk about expansion within a year to 2 years, because some of the cities that were in the old version of the XFL that are not in the new one, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles is still there. They were in both. They're in both versions of the XFL. I mentioned New York, New Jersey. New York's there. But Orlando, Memphis. But you have to think about some of the cities that can be available. Atlanta for one. San Diego for another. Mentioned Chicago. Las Vegas could be an opportunity. There's so many opportunities for expansion with this version of the XFL than there was before. And again, the biggest part is Vince McMahon, the man who funded the league and founded the production company for said league, actually did his research this time. He took all the lessons from the first iteration of the XFL and he put them into this current project. He put them into what's going on the field right now. And I am truly inclined to think that this can work. I really think this could work. And what's scary is what's scary about this iteration of the XFL is that, one, you have a possibility for expansion. Two, the star power that is there. I mean, I was watching one of the games, and they did an interview with Troy Aikman. They have to cut down the interviews. I mean, there are too many interviews, I think, in the NFL from the sidelines right now, trying to catch the coaches. And I understand that's the trend. I know that's not going to change. You know, Brock Heward was doing his thing for Fox Sports, as well as Kurt Menefee. And I love the fact that there are, and I'm jumping all over the place, and I love the fact there are two major networks that broadcast NFL games. They jumped on board with the XFL. That is ESPN, which includes ABC as well, and Fox Sports. And both the presentations are different. I'll get to that later on in the season. And I just love this iteration of it. I love it. I absolutely love it. You only have to have 1 foot in bounds to have it ruled a catch, and I think they use the college rule for that. 1 foot down, and you got to possess the ball. I love that. I love that because there are so many times, there are so many definitions of what is a catch in the NFL. It drives me absolutely freaking batty. It does. It drives me absolutely nuts. Now, some of the other nuances that I'm still learning about within the final 2 minutes of the second quarter or the regulation time, even though you go out of bounds, they'll run 5 seconds off the play clock before the game clock runs. So they want to speed up the game. They want to speed up the game, and I see that. A couple of the other rules is the point after touchdown. They never allowed a kick for a point after touchdown in the old version of the XFL, and they're not allowing it on this one. This one is kind of innovative to me. It still confuses the hell out of me, but this one is kind of innovative to me, and I'm going to have William Morgan join me after the first break to help me break down what is the XFL. In fact, he's going to join me twice during the show. I'll get to the show preview in just a moment. But there are 3 shots that you have. So you can pick up as much as 9 points instead of just 8 in the NFL or college. You can pick up as much as 9 points, but there are no kicks. There are no kicks. You line up from, if I'm understanding correctly, the 2-yard line for a 1-point conversion, the 5-yard line for a 2-point conversion, and the 10-yard line for a 3-point conversion. And on all conversions, no matter which point value you choose, you got to stick it in the end zone. You got to stick it in the end zone. The overtime rules are what got my attention. And the overtime rules, from what I understand, is this. It's a shootout-style setup. You know how hockey goes to after they play 3 periods and it's tied, and they go through overtime and it's tied, and you go to a shootout, and each round you go 3 rounds in hockey. And you have to score a goal, and if you get stopped more times than you score, then the other team wins. That's how they set it up in the XFL. You get 1 play from the 5-yard line. If you score and get the conversion afterwards, then the other team has 1 play. You play a total of 5 rounds, and whoever is ahead after 5 rounds is the winner. But if they're still tied at the end of those 5 rounds, then you go to sudden death. And there are no ties in the XFL. I love that setup. And I think I'm going to love how this XFL is run. Now, of course, there's a full season yet to play. And, of course, my opinions can change from here on out. But so far, so good. So far, so good. Coming up on this edition of the program, William Morgan will join me to talk XFL, and then later on he'll join me to talk NBA All-Star Game and all things NBA. Donnell the Playmaker Solins will join me. Rick Curdy will join me. And a couple of very special guests will join me. Andre Day, whose podcast with the Bearded Wonder, the Black in Business podcast, I had the absolute joy and pleasure to be a part of. He'll join me for segment 3 of this hour. And then a young lady by the name of Jennifer Garrett, who became an entrepreneur after working a job for a long time. She said, the hell with it, I'm going all in. and she has a wonderful podcast of her own called the Move the Ball Podcast. I invited her on. She will join me. And, man, I got a lot of good stuff. Rick Curdy, you'll hear that conversation and a couple of other conversations over the course of this program. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. If I can say it right, William Morgan will join me next after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, folks. So, in case you don't know, football is not over. And I don't mean just because my friend Mike DeBate and I are going to talk the course of the NFL offseason. A new league launched in the form of the XFL. Yes, it is back. And I don't know what the hell's going on. I kid when I say that. I have to bring William Morgan back on the hotline with me. What's going on, man?
How you guys doing today? Thank you for having me again.
Okay. I'll repeat my question with a smile on my face and a very selfish intent to make you laugh. What the hell's going on?
Well, opening day for the new season was yesterday, and it was a little bit smoother than it has been today. I have not seen the game that kicked it off today, but I'm currently watching the game right now, and it's a tough defensive battle. It looks to be.
Yeah.
Look, yesterday we had the DC Defenders defeat my Seattle Dragons 31-19 after all the issues we had yesterday. Oh my goodness. Oh, we had issue after issue. But I'm sticking by my team though.
You're sticking by so the Seattle Dragons are your team?
Yes, that's my team. That's where I'm from. And I'm sticking by my team. Then we also had yesterday the Houston Roughnecks behind P.J. Walker, who I call P.J. the Truth Walker. 4 touchdowns. They get a big victory against the L.A. Wildcats, 37-17.
Yep.
So, great day yesterday. There's a lot of different rules that's come down into the XFL this year, and primarily it's geared for all offense. As you can see, if you watched the games yesterday, there were no extra points. You have you can go literally. You can go, if you score a touchdown, you can go for 3. If you're down by 9, you can go for 3.
So you go from the 2-yard line for 1 point, the 5-yard line for 2 points, and the 10-yard line for 3 points. So you can literally make up 18 points in 2 possessions.
Yep.
Okay.
You surely can.
So they kept that. They kept that part of it. They fixed the kickoffs, and I love that. There's no scramble for the kickoff for opening possession anymore. They actually do kick it off. Field goals are still in play, but you need to explain this to me. They actually are going to allow a double forward pass.
Yep.
How?
Yeah, and that's part of keeping the game unique, fresh, but it's also there to make sure it's still geared toward the offense in this league as well.
Now, I've seen and have been a part of backward passes that go to a forward pass. How does this double forward pass work?
How does it work?
How does the double? I've never seen it. I've seen so many quarterbacks run across the line of scrimmage, and I've seen an illegal forward pass. The only time I can honestly say that I've seen a double forward pass is in a scramble situation where you're trying to get the ball downfield, just as Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints against your Seahawks in the playoffs. Is that the concept?
Yes, that's the concept of it. And keep in mind too, if you want to, your formations or your player personnel can do whatever. So if you want to take out a tight end and put in another quarterback, you can do that.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
So now you can have two quarterbacks on the field. I've actually seen that happen a couple times. Okay, I had a chance to take a look at the uniforms. True or false? The Tampa Bay Titans, and much respect to them, have the
Tampa Bay Vipers.
Vipers. Thank you. The Tampa Bay Vipers have the ugliest damn uniforms I've ever seen in my life.
That's what everybody's saying on Facebook.
I mean, I think the Washington Generals had better uniforms in the USFL than these that I've seen. And I understand them trying to highlight the green. It's a little bit of a USF motif, the University of South Florida motif, but what the hell are those? I mean, this is.
Oh,
wait
man.
a minute. You know what's bad? I showed my wife a picture of that uniform. She handed the phone right back to me and went, "I don't want to see that ever again." I mean, I know they're trying to. I look. These uniforms are better than some of the uniforms I saw last year in the Alliance of American Football. Let's just get that piece of truth out of the way. Okay?
Yes.
But the Tampa Bay Vipers, you would think they would darken the... And I don't want to make this all about the uniforms because, hey, some of the uniforms I've seen in 2001 left a lot to be desired when the XFL premiered this time.
True that.
But damn! If that's their road uniforms... I'm almost afraid, and I mean this kiddingly, I'm almost afraid to see what the home uniform's like.
Oh, man. Man.
But I will see. I will say this: these uniforms for the XFL this time around are a lot better than the ones that we saw back in 2001. So are the nicknames, where they put the teams. They concentrated on the big markets. I like how the Seattle Dragons motif is. I like that combination.
Oh, yeah.
Which brings to mind this question, and I believe I know your answer, but I want to be sure I put it out there, and I'm going to make this my question of the day a little bit later on in the show. Can the XFL last beyond one season this time?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I really believe
You're looking at about 2 to 3 years with the money that Vince has put into it. He's put a lot of money into it. Another thing too that I think will make it last 2-3 years is the fact that Vince is no longer running the day to day.
Yes.
That's going to Commissioner Luck.
Yeah.
So he's not running the day to day of the XFL. Who Commissioner Luck is, and I really think this could last. Matter of fact, it may end up being expanded upon because right now you're looking at 8 cities that are major NFL cities, but there's other cities who got left out.
Yeah.
There's no team in Carolina. There's no team in Georgia. So, we can get some of those teams to up this thing to 10. Want to move a team out in Vegas? There you go. So we can definitely do some things in XFL to definitely last beyond this season.
And you said the most important thing. Vince McMahon is not a part of the day-to-day operation. He just funded the league. He said he's going to put $500 million toward the league, which will give it 3 full seasons. And then he hired a football mind in Oliver Luck. Most of you should know that name, especially in Indianapolis. Okay? Most people should know the name Oliver Luck. I know I certainly do. He hired a football mind. When will the Cleveland Browns ever get this right? He hired a football mind to run the day-to-day operations for this league.
Yes.
So
that's correct.
As of this first weekend, it is poised for success beyond year one.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So
I believe it will be. I believe it will be a huge success if opening day is any type of an indicator. Today is a little bit sluggish, a little bit slower, but hey, I believe week 2 we'll see some more action.
But you have 2 networks that are behind the XFL now instead of just one. Because if you remember, in 2001, it was all on NBC, and then NBC pulled out because they didn't like the ratings. With ESPN, with ESPN and Fox Sports, which are 2 major networks for the NFL, you got a better outfit this time. I really think you do.
And don't forget, you got your Fox, you got your ESPN, and you also have your ABC. Similar to ESPN, but the same thing. You have 3 major networks versus 2001. You had NBC and UPN and Paramount Network. Yeah. And NBC wasn't ready at that time to really host something like that. That's why they probably pulled out. UPN, wasn't ready. Probably you don't really hear anything from that. I think they got bought out or something like that.
They did. UPN got bought out.
Yeah. So now you have 3 major networks that are putting time and emphasis on this thing. If you watch any Fox programming, particularly early in the morning, like if you watch First Things First, they will actually push these games on that show. Yeah. So that tells you that they are committed to it and want to see it succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do too. This is what I opened the show with. I do too. I want to see this succeed now. And I mentioned this at the top of the program. Oliver Luck being in charge is huge. Vince McMahon staying out of the day-to-day operations, and give kudos to Vince McMahon. He learned his lesson. And unlike the AAF, he took a full 2 years to put this together.
Yep.
He took a full 2 years to put this together. This is William Morgan joining me, talking all things XFL. Stand by, folks. He's going to be back later in the show to talk all things NBA All-Star Game, and I can't wait to bring him back because I got some questions for him. So if you'll hop on later in the show, I'll be glad to have you.
Gotcha, man.
Stand by, folks. I got more for you after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
Holy on snow!
where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
So I had the pleasure recently of being on a wonderful show called Black in Business. And I figure with this being Black History Month, I'm going to return the favor. On the hotline with me is one of the fellows who's in charge of said podcast. This is Andre Day, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, my brother. How are you?
I am doing great. First of all, let me say thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come on to your podcast and spreading some knowledge and spreading some love for the other podcasters, the other independent show hosts that do this just like we do. I can't thank you enough for that.
Man, listen, I tell you, I can't thank you enough for being on the show because you gave more than what I even thought was going to be given. Like, I thought it was going to be like, regular run of the mill, and then we end by spreading love and showing love to brothers and almost putting us to tears, man. So I thank you a whole bunch for that. Thank you for being on the show.
That was one of the things I really wanted to touch on, and it's something, my wife tells me all the time. She says, maybe that can be part of your message as well as you having fun doing your sports show. Maybe you can drive that point home. And this is the point that I've driven home, for the time that she and I have been together and for a while now. There is not enough help out there in many ways for men. Let's take color out of the equation. There's not enough help out there for men who need to get back on their feet, who desire to get back on their feet, and for those who want to stay on their feet. That's why I love talking about that particular message, and I'm glad you helped me spread that message when I was on your show. Yeah,
I definitely agree. One of the things and also one of the reasons that caused me to start the show was I wanted to spread a message not only for African Americans, but also just for the wider generation in general. A lot of individuals my age, both male and female, I don't believe they have the same drive that people before us had. And then also with that, a lot of people don't get, like you said, enough assistance to start. And I believe it starts from like when we grow up, where we're taught certain things and then just kind of let go and then just thought like, oh, you're an adult, you can do it. But you get a totally different, you get like a totally different viewpoint of what adulthood is. And then when you kind of reach back out for help, there's nobody there to help you. So, I mean, spreading love and showing love to men is something that we need to do every day. Like every moment of every day you have, say I love you to a man. It'll help out a whole lot.
And this is what a lot of men don't get. Well, a lot of men get it, but they don't voice it aloud. And I was guilty of such. I said I love you to my dad and my granddad and my uncles every day that they were here. You know, they've all passed on now. But I don't mind one bit saying I love you to a man who is very close to me. There are some broadcasters who I say it to, and I say it live on this show. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a wonderful thing to communicate that, for men to communicate that to each other without having this too PC world misconstrue why we're saying that to each other. It needs to be said a lot more often.
Yeah. And I think also it needs to be said in a way where when you say it with confidence. I feel like if I say it to you, I'm only going to say it when it's only you and I. Like, you know, certain people don't want other people to know that I said I love you. But it shouldn't be that way. Just as well as it doesn't matter if you show affection and love to your wife. People don't want to see that, but you don't care because it's between you and your wife. So I think the same thing should be from man to a man. Like if I love you, I don't have a problem with giving you a hug, showing you affection, saying I love you, say I appreciate you, taking care of you, things of that nature. And it really doesn't matter what other people say or how they look at me or what they may think, because it's not for them to, like, it's not for them. It's for me and you. So as long as you and I have the understanding, I can honestly care less about what other people think. And that's really where I think a lot of people don't show it, is because they believe or think, oh, I don't want this person to think differently of me or what this person might say. And it really is affecting you more than what you may know.
It really is. It really does affect the person that, you know, thinks aloud and thinks constantly about what other people think. I've had to learn from other people, my wife included, and my daughter and my son included. You know, you can't think about what people say or think about you. That's just going to affect you. Do I have my days where I slip back into that? Absolutely. And I say that I say that aloud, and I say that with conviction, because I'm still learning a lot from my wife and her family, and I'm learning a lot about myself at the same time. Being on your show where I was allowed to express what I felt, and not just in the sports world, but just in life, that meant a lot to me. I can't thank you and your partner enough for allowing that to happen and allowing that message to be spread. That needs to be spread more often. So if men can communicate like that, do you know how different this country, let alone this world, will be?
I think people are afraid of what might happen. When I grew up, I saw a lot of things in person and a lot of things that are on TV that don't really show men loving each other. So adults now that are in my age bracket, you know, late 20s, early to mid 30s, don't have that I love you type of mentality. So what happens in turn is that you have an issue, you deal with it by yourself, and then when you don't know how to get the results you need to make a better outcome for yourself, you start lashing out and doing things that you normally wouldn't do. So to answer your question, if we express love to one another more often, I think we would have, number one, happier individuals. And number two, we would be able to think more clearly and start doing things that would help us with a better life instead of putting us where we are in that mentality of crabs in a barrel, trying to keep everybody down. We would want to see everybody move up. So I think it would have an effect that I don't think the world is ready for on the African American side. Like, if we really put our minds together and stick to one another, I think we can be, actually, I know we can be a force to be reckoned with.
Where did you grow up? Let's find out more about Andre. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn. Both my parents are from New York. I lived in New York for about 7 or 8 years or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I moved to New Jersey for about a year or two. And after New Jersey, I moved to Maryland. And I've been here in the Maryland, D.C. area since, let's say, 9th grade or so.
Wow.
9th or 10th grade. Yeah.
Wow. So you're originally from New York. I can hear that accent come out. Where's your sports loyalties lie? Which teams get you at the heart?
Well, I am a football fan, so my first team at heart would be the Giants.
Good man.
I also like to see the Jets every once in a while, just because they're also New York. I don't really watch a lot of baseball, but it does feel nice and feel good to see the Yankees do something well.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I would say basketball. I was into the Celtics, but after they dismantled the Kevin Garnett and the Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, I kind of spread away from the Celtics. Right now, I'm just kind of open. I like kind of any basketball team as long as it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really watch a lot of hockey, but people tell me I need to get into it because it's a really good and interesting sport. And that's really about it for sports.
Now, I'm going to tease you because I do have love for the New York Football Giants. I loved it back in the day when Bill Parcells and Bill Walsh would hook up and go at it, be it at the old Giant Stadium or at old Candlestick Park. You're not into basketball that much?
Not like I used to, no. Like I said, I used to be a Celtics fan, but once they dismantled that amazing team, I just kind of, I don't know, I went away.
Good. Then I can say Michael Jordan and get away with it.
I mean, hey, listen. Even though you don't watch basketball, you know who Michael Jordan is.
Yes. Thank you.
He was on the Wheaties box. He was on every magazine. I mean,
he was all over the place.
Country, yeah, you walk into any country and say MJ, there's only one person that, I mean, they might do Michael Jackson, but only those two have MJ. There's no other MJs that are prominent in everybody's mind. So, yeah, you're fine with Michael Jordan. That's cool.
So true. And I've spoken to a couple of hardcore Knicks fans, and I kid them a lot. And I said, well, I guess I can't say Michael Jordan, and they start growling at me, but then we all start laughing at it. But I love having conversations like this during the show that, gives people the other side of the shows and the podcasts that I do. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, and you got to tell me how did you get your podcast started?
Well, in a previous job I had, I was just kind of sitting in the office, and it was a Friday afternoon, I believe. And I'm just sitting there pondering, like, what else can I do besides work every day, same job, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturday, and just go home. Like, there has to be something else I can do. So I started just thinking, like, I'm not really putting my business degree into play, because this job that I had at that time, really anybody can do. And I really wasn't doing much of a side hustle per se. So my supervisor at the time walked through the door, and as soon as he walked through the door, a light bulb came into my head, and I was like, ooh, I can do something that promotes small businesses, but how can I do it? So, I sleep on it. I think about it for a couple of days, and I go, well, I can do a podcast. Well, how do I do one? I did my research, and once I found out that you can literally start a podcast for free, it was a no-brainer after that. Only thing I needed was people to have on the show. As long as you have an email address and a place to host your podcast, it's essentially free. You don't have to buy anything. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your laptop. I think the only thing that you may need to buy if you want to get fancy is a microphone.
Yeah.
But everything else is essentially free. So once I got that idea, I just started reaching out to people and letting them know, like, hey, I want to start a podcast and, promote small business owners and kind of discuss with them how they started and, what they do to keep themselves going and things of that nature. And, I got a few people to say, hey, yeah, no problem. I'll be on your show. And I was kind of taken back, like, oh, really? You want to be on my show? So, okay. Like, I was kind of nervous at that point. But then I said, this is what I wanted to do. And I did it. So it just kind of went from there.
Well, I am very proud of you. I am very proud to have been a guest on your podcast. You and I share a mutual friend, Stephen Askins of the Inside Inside Football Blitz. He was on your program, and he was the guy that led me to you and led me to your podcast. So I am very, very proud to be a guest on your podcast. I'm proud to have you on this show. And tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Oh, so they can find me. I would say the easiest way is to, you can email us at blackandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. They can find us on Facebook, which is Black in Business Podcast. It can also be found on Instagram, which is Black_in_business. And we're located at, on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast. We're on, what is that other one? Spotify. And I believe those are the three major ones. I mean, we're on some other smaller ones I can't think of right now, but those are the three major ones at this point.
Hey, folks, check out the Black in Business podcast. I was a guest on it. If you know someone that has a small business, and this is Black History Month, if you know someone that has a small business and they want to get featured, this is the guy you contact. This is the podcast that you're on, and you get featured on this show as well. Andre Day, one half of the Black in Business podcast, joining me here on the program. I can't thank you enough. And I recommend to the folks again, I recommend to the community, please go check out the Black in Business podcast. Thank you for your time, my friend. I can't wait to have you back on.
I appreciate it. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to my co-host, Bearded Wonder. Once you guys listen to the show, you'll see why he's such an awesome person. And I'm glad to have him as a co-host, and I can't wait to just continue to bring you guys more episodes.
Absolutely. One day I'm going to get you both on the program so we can really have some fun with it. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Speaking of small business, there's a lady by the name of Jennifer Garrett who will join me next after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
Hadouken!
where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Hope you're enjoying it as we're enjoying bringing it to you. You know, I am a fan of podcasts. I record them, I produce them, and I listen to them, a lot of them. And this one got my attention, and you guys know that I've begun to recommend a lot of good podcasts for y'all to listen to. Well, this one not only involves sports, it also involves life. And when I listened to it, I knew, well, when I heard about it, I knew I had to listen to it. I listened to it. I became a subscriber immediately, and I'm going to recommend this even before we get this done. The lady that I have on the line is the author of said podcast, Combining Football and Life. And when you listen to this podcast, you're going to get a lot out of it, and I recommend you not only sign up for it, download it, I just recommend everything about it. This is Jennifer Garrett, and she joins me right now. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
Okay, you got to tell me how you put this podcast together. What gave you the idea, and what gave you the inspiration to put it together?
Sure. So my podcast is called Move the Ball, and that name was taken from a book that I wrote 7 years ago. And the book was about how you could take football lessons specifically and apply them off the field to be successful in business and in life. And after the book was published, I spent the last 7 years really working with people on how to move the ball and really grow that brand. And I decided that I wanted to do the podcast because it was just another great way to connect with people, having great conversations with professional athletes of all sports, as well as business leaders, on how we can use the athlete mentality and put into practice success strategies and habits so that we can get ourselves to the next level.
You started the podcast the day after the Super Bowl. You really pumped it up. And I have to tell you, I really enjoy it. I know I'm going to enjoy it a lot. What got you into football? What got you started in liking football?
Great question. So I grew up in Chicago in the 80s. I just fell in love with the game. You know, ever since I was 4, I would watch football games with my parents, and what really intrigued me about the sport was not only the fast-paced nature of the game, but also there were these games where you would have these fourth quarter comebacks where teams were down, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns, and the game wasn't over until the game clock hit 0. And so I just found that fascinating and studied the sport my entire life and applied lessons from the game into my own life.
That is great. So you grew up a fan of the Bears back in the 80s, huh? Because I too am from Chicago, and I've seen the Bears over many years. Are there any other teams that you follow aside of the Bears?
Professional or college or either?
Either one.
So I am an Alabama alum, so I very much follow the University of Alabama football team. We had a rough season here this past season, but they'll be back next year for sure.
So I could have you on the show, and all I have to say is roll tide, and off to the races we go. How about a professional aside of the Bears? You follow anyone else?
There's a lot of teams that I like to watch. I think there's some great leaders who are great people both on and off the field. So it's not just the talent, but it's the character. Everyone talks about Tom Brady, right, and how great he was in New England. We'll see where he ends up going. But I do enjoy watching that team because of the leadership. There's a lot of people that don't like watching the.
Well, people have hated on my team because my original team in professional football was the 49ers, and because of a fellow named Joe Montana, who Tom Brady gets compared to all the time. So I completely understand, the hatred, but I draw the same comparison that people do with Tom Brady and the Patriots. It's because of the way that Montana led his team on the field and the way the organization is run. And a lot of that you can apply to what you do with your podcast, which is very motivational, and I absolutely love it. And the lessons that you bring, you can, like you said, you can apply it to life.
Yes. So I do like watching the Patriots. I mean, there's a lot of great teams. I do like Andy Reid. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely.
For winning the Super Bowl. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is just a class act. I enjoyed watching the game. There are organization. There's some NFC East teams that I like watching. The Eagles. I like watching the Cowboys. And so, I mean, I'm just a fan of the game, and I love watching good games. So I don't just sit down and watch the Bears play.
Absolutely wonderful. Talking with Jennifer Garrett. I love a phrase that I happened to catch when I was doing my research for this interview, and I love how you put this. Quote, "You are the quarterback. Your life is the game. Own it and move the ball." There's your purpose right there for your podcast. Who are some of the guests that you've taped episodes with or going to tape episodes with so far?
Sure. So the first 3 episodes were released just this past week. The first one was just a solo of me, but I had on the show already Chris Leak. Chris was the quarterback who led the Florida Gators to their national championship in the 2006 season. So he was right before Tim Tebow. Tebow was a freshman when Chris was a senior, taking that team to their championship. Also, I had on Terrence Wood, who is the grandson of Hall of Famer, Pro Football Hall of Famer Willie Wood, who played for the Packers in the 1960s. Some other guests that I've recorded with already, Paul Pratt. Paul played with the Detroit Lions, and he's got a great organization called Second Wind Mentors, where he mentors young boys of single-parent homes currently. So we had a great episode. Another gentleman, Tony Simmons. Tony played on the Patriots. He played on a number of teams. He was nicknamed Touchdown Tony, played at Wisconsin for college ball. Some future guests that are coming up as well. Eric Dungy, who is the son of Tony Dungy. We're going to be recording an episode here in a couple weeks. But it's not just football athletes. So I've also got a pro skateboarder, Mikey Taylor, who I recorded a show with. His episode will come out early March. Also Rob Murray. Rob played in the National Hockey League and the American Hockey League for many years. He's currently coaching the Tulsa Oilers, which is a minor league hockey team. So my goal is really a good cross-section of athletes from all sports.
Absolutely wonderful. Again, this is Jennifer Garrett. You can find her podcast on anywhere where you listen to. It's called Move the Ball. It's the Move the Ball podcast, and it's absolutely wonderful. Tell everybody where they can find you, my dear.
Yeah, so the easiest way, I mean, it's going to be on all the platforms, or it is on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. But if you just go to movetheballpodcast.com, you can listen to it directly there, and there are links to all of those other podcasting platforms.
Jennifer Garrett joining me here on the program to talk Move the Ball and how she uses football to move the ball in life, and you can do the same thing. Absolutely great having you on. I got to have you on again soon.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on the show today.
We got more coming up in a smidge.
This is Snowman in the Morning,
I did not need to be told that.
where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
Welcome back to the program, folks, as we continue to get you through your week. One, thank you for tuning in on all of our favorite networks, all of our favorite stations, internationally and nationally, and through the internet. A few years ago, I had a fellow on this program talking about bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. And when I closed that conversation, the next time I wanted to talk to him, I wanted to be in North Carolina. Well, that time has come, and Rick Curdy is back, and he's on the hotline right now. How are you, my friend? Good to talk to you.
Hey there, how are you, Snowman? How's everything going?
Everything is great. I finally made it down here to North Carolina, man.
All right, man.
That was one of the things we had talked about. I wanted to come down here, and then my wife jumped at the opportunity with me, so we're here. How has that movement been going? Because it's been a while since we talked about it.
Yeah, it's been going on strong. You know, we actually have a podcast now called Charlotte Best Baseball and Sports. It's just been growing like crazy. The enthusiasm is so high right now for it. People really want to see it. We got Major League Soccer. We didn't get MLB. We got MLS coming in 2021. So that's a great thing because I think right around the corner is Major League Baseball. So I think Charlotte is showing that we're a great city for professional sports. So we already got the basketball and the football, and now we got the soccer, and we got the hockey in Raleigh, and the only thing we're waiting for is Major League Baseball. So let's bring it on.
Yeah, that's all that's missing. As Rick just mentioned, the Hurricanes are in Raleigh. You got the Carolina Panthers. They play out of Charlotte. Of course, the Charlotte Hornets. Major League Soccer is now in Charlotte. Of course, Major League Baseball would be a godsend for this area because a lot of folks are excited about baseball. In the short time that I've been here, the excitement in talking about Major League Baseball possibly coming to Charlotte, it's been off the charts.
Yeah, it's been through the roof. People are excited. You know, the Knights will be starting soon. Their attendance is one of the highest in all of minor league baseball. It's been since they come to Uptown Charlotte. People want to see it. You know, people are ready to see it, and you know, the only thing holding us up, unfortunately, is the stadiums in Oakland and Tampa, and I just don't understand for the life of me why Tampa's still there. You know, they are a great team, but their fan base stinks. It's been bad since day one, and now I heard this ridiculous thing that Major League Baseball is thinking about splitting the Tampa Bay Rays season in Montreal, which makes absolutely no sense. I don't know how that's going to grow baseball in Florida if you're going to be playing not only in another place, in another country. So I think it's crazy that they want to do that. But, I mean, I think if the Rays don't get a new stadium by 2027 when their lease expires, they are definitely going to move, and it's either they're going to move to Montreal, or they're going to move to Portland, or they're going to move to Charlotte.
And you said the last time I had you on, you know, I had asked you how long will it take for Major League Baseball to come to Charlotte, and you had mentioned something. You said they may try to go back to Montreal first. And I know that report that you're talking about, and it just leads right into what you said the last time you were here, and you just repeated.
Yeah, they want baseball to come back to Montreal, and a lot of people said, well, they had it there and it failed. They were there for 30 years, and to me, it wasn't the people that failed it. It was Jeffrey Loria who failed it. He's the one that, you know, sent them packing and led them eventually to become the Washington Nationals. So it was actually Jeffrey Loria that failed the organization. And you know, when you know your team's leaving, why come to the games? You know, it's just like the Raiders. When the Raider fans knew they were moving to Las Vegas, they just stopped showing up. So eventually, you know, they moved to Washington, and of course, they won the World Series. So the Major League Baseball wants to be more global. They're kind of following the model of basketball and the NFL, where they're playing games in other countries. Major League Baseball just had a series in London. First time they were playing in London. That was pretty wild. And they want to go play games in Mexico and other countries. And, you know, the NBA play games in China. Of course, the NFL plays games in Mexico and London, and now I'm here in Toronto. So that's what Major League Baseball wants to do, and they want to see two teams in Canada, and have a nice rivalry with Montreal and Toronto. So it's inevitable. Montreal's coming back. The Expos name's coming back, but they always expand by two. So the question is, who's going to join Montreal? Is it going to be Montreal Charlotte, Montreal Portland, Montreal Nashville? You know, or it could be any of those 6 cities that they have on the list.
And they want to follow the same pattern of the NBA in growing by 2. You know, what I know I've asked this before, and I'm going to keep asking it, and I've gotten so many great answers. What would be the biggest selling point of bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina?
Well, we already have the football. We already have the basketball. That was one of the reasons why Commissioner Manfred put Charlotte on the list because they have already proven they can support professional sports. To me, our biggest selling point is not only do we have so many transplants, not only do we have the money here with all the banks out here, but we also have another state next door to us in South Carolina, and South Carolina does not have any professional sports. They have the Gamecocks, they have Clemson, and they have the Columbia Fireflies for a minor league baseball team. That is it. They're going to have the Panther headquarters out there very soon. That's it. There's no professional sports in South Carolina, and a lot of, there's a reason to call the Carolina Panthers because it's North and South Carolina, and we could do the same thing with our baseball team. We have a lot of passionate fans in South Carolina, all the way in Rock Hill and Fort Mill, Columbia, South Carolina, even Charleston, they come all the way from Charleston or all over South Carolina, come to Charlotte and watch a baseball game. So I think that's our biggest selling point that we have that the other cities don't have. We have a sister state that's next door, so we are literally two states in one.
Let's reiterate something. When the Panthers were founded, when the Panthers were granted a franchise, and a lot of people seem to forget this because they've had their base in Charlotte for so many years, they played their inaugural season at Clemson, in Clemson, South Carolina. So that got the buzz going about the Carolina Panthers in both states. Yep,
that's what they're doing, and David Tepper is really putting emphasis on really calling the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure he wants to get a new stadium built one day, and I heard he wants to put a retractable roof at the Bank of America. Right now they're modifying it for Major League Soccer right now, so I think it's inevitable he'll want to get a brand new stadium, and I keep hearing rumors that might be built near Carowinds on the North and South Carolina border, if that's where they want to move it. We don't know. It's just speculation, so we'll see what happens with that, but I think that's the big draw for North Carolina is that we have South Carolina next door, and we have so many transplants. Nobody's from Charlotte. I'm from Los Angeles. I meet people here from New York and Yankee fans. I meet, Dodger fans. I meet Red Sox fans. I meet, a lot of people are from Florida who are, Miami, Marlins fans and so forth and so forth. So that's another big draw for us is that we have so many transplants here, and our minor league baseball team is one of the top attendance at all of minor league baseball, and we already got the professional sports, so it's not, if we get it, it's when we get it. And my question is why Charlotte has never had it.
Yeah, and it's so wild that Charlotte has never had Major League Baseball, and for the longest time it wasn't even considered. I had thought, for a long time it would be such a boon for Major League Baseball to come to North Carolina.
Yeah, we only have the true team from the South we have is the Atlanta Braves. We have the Florida Marlins, and you got the Astros and the Rangers, but if you want to talk about the true South, it's Georgia, and that's it. There's no teams in Tennessee. There's no Major League Baseball teams in Virginia. Our closest team is 4.5 hours in Smyrna, Georgia, with the Braves, and the second closest team we have is in Washington, D.C. with the Nationals. So you have all that open market with Virginia, all that open market with Tennessee, and it's just sitting there. The potential is great because because we can get all those fans from the other states. So it's just perfect. And like I said, I would be shocked if Major League Baseball didn't pick North Carolina. They've been kind of ignoring North Carolina for a while, and it's just you can't ignore it because the numbers are there, the draw is there, and it'd be a great rivalry with Atlanta, and you can have all those open markets with Virginia and all those open markets in South Carolina and all those open markets in Tennessee, and we're nowhere near another market. 4.5 hours there and 9.5 hours there, so it's perfect.
It is perfect, and if you go all along the Atlantic coast, and just to reiterate a point that you just brought up a moment ago, all along the Atlantic coast. The further Atlantic, North Atlantic you get, you got the Washington Nationals, the defending world champions, and you got the Baltimore Orioles. If you come down the Atlantic, the furthest you go, you have Atlanta, and then you have Miami, and of course Tampa Bay, but nothing in between there, nothing in Virginia, Kentucky, or Tennessee, or of course the Carolinas. So you got vacationers sitting right there looking for something to do, which doesn't involve driving to Atlanta, which doesn't involve driving to New Orleans. You got that whole Atlantic coast area wide open.
Exactly. And I think Major League Baseball needs more teams in the South. We have a ton of teams on the West Coast. We have tons of teams in the East Coast. The only market that's not really expanding anywhere is the South, which is Georgia, Florida, Texas, and that's it, and North Carolina would be perfect. And really, North and South Carolina would be perfect because we'll be representing two states. So it's just, to me, it's just inevitable that Major League Baseball will come to North Carolina.
I think it's inevitable also. Rick Curdy joining me. Join his movement of bringing Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a staunch supporter of it. Now being a Carolina resident, I want y'all to get behind this movement also. Tell everybody where they can join the movement, and tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Well, you can check out our website. We have a petition on there at www.charlottebats.com. We're on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball. We're also on Facebook at Charlotte Bats, and we're also on LinkedIn at Charlotte Bats. So we're Charlotte Bats everywhere. We're also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats, and you can just contact me at charlottebatsbaseball@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to join our movement, we're actually looking for interns to help promote. So come aboard and love to hear from you, and let's all do this together.
Let's make this happen. Let's make the Charlotte Bats happen, folks. Rick Curdy joining me. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it. And I'll put this out there. Look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks, Snowman. Congrats on your wedding.
Appreciate it. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We got more stuff for you. Hang tight. I'll be back in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Okay. We're back here on the program, and thank you for joining me. Let's talk NBA All-Star Game, shall we? Now, before I launch into what I'm going to talk about, I think, or I know, that the NBA is doing a wonderful thing in honoring the memory of one Kobe Bryant. Okay? But there's a new format that they have put together in honoring Kobe Bryant. SBNation.com wrote this. The NBA is changing its format of the 2020 All-Star Game to spice up the competitiveness of the event and honor Kobe Bryant. After years of criticism over the game's fading audience, the leagues made numerous new rules. Here's what's new. The first 3 quarters of the 2020 All-Star Game will have the score reset after each 12-minute period. Team LeBron and Team Giannis will compete to win each frame at a score of 0-0. The winner of each quarter will earn $100,000 for their charity, with ties resulting in the money being added to the following quarter. The score resets after each quarter, but the cumulative total still matters. I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. In the fourth quarter, the team's scores from the first 3 quarters will be added up, and the final score a team needs to reach to win the game will be determined by adding 24 points, Bryant's jersey number, to the highest scores total. There will be no game clock in the final frame. The first team to hit that point total wins. If that was a lot and hard for you to understand, it's because the new format is confusing as hell. Again, this is on SBNation.com, so let's go a step further. They provide this example. Let's start with the beginning of the game. If Team LeBron scores 30 and Team Giannis scores 25 in the first quarter, Team LeBron's charity of choice wins $100,000. In quarter 2, the score resets to 0-0, so Team Giannis could outscore Team LeBron by the same score, 30-25, and they'd win $100,000 for their charity. In quarter 3, the same thing happens. Let's say Team LeBron outscores Team Giannis 30-25 again. Team LeBron wins $100,000 for charity once again. In the fourth quarter, the score from the first 3 quarters will be added up. In this case, Team LeBron is leading Team Giannis 85-80. Instead of a 12-minute game clock, the teams will play to a score. In this case, we take 85 points as leading score and add 24 points to honor Bryant. So the first team to 109 points wins the game. I must have looked at this 100 times. I must have read this 100 times. I still don't understand how the hell this is going to bring competitiveness back to the game. So you're putting $100,000 on the line each quarter for the team's favorite charity. You know, that part I actually like. I actually like that part. But you're going to reset the score to 0-0 for the second and the third quarters. But you keep a running score at the table for the fourth quarter, up until the... I don't get this at all. I don't get this at all. So you're going to reset the score after every quarter. I don't get it. I just have one question and one question only.
I demand to know who wrote this script.
Because I sure as hell didn't write it. You want to honor Kobe Bryant? How about playing as hard as you can on both ends of the floor? You want to honor Kobe Bryant? How about your honorary captains, one wears 2, the other wears 24? You want to honor Kobe Bryant and bring the fans back to the game? How about some competition? Everybody wants to say, oh, it wasn't fair because the West was so stacked. Well, if fans of the East are complaining that the West is so stacked, why don't you beat them? Why don't you play hard? Why don't you just play basketball? I understand that the fans have waned off of this game. I'm going to have Michael Lyle on Friday, and we're going to talk about this very subject. Can someone please explain to me how the hell this is going to work? Can someone please explain to me how this brings competition back to a game where competition has faded by not circumventing the rules? Because that's what you did. You completely circumvented the rules. You completely revamped a format that for a while worked because the players actually loved playing against each other. I thought that was the whole idea of the All-Star game anyway. Not just the dunks, not just the three-pointers, not just the fancy assists, but you play hard. That you actually play basketball. That you actually have the coaches coach and the players play. Am I missing something here? Again, I pose the question.
I demand to know who wrote this script. I'd like to tell him, but modesty forbids.
That's probably what Adam Silver is saying. That is probably what Adam Silver is saying. I'd like to tell him, but modesty forbids. So modesty also forbids actually playing a game where the teams were identified as East and West. You know, this team captain stuff is getting on my nerve. It's getting on my nerve. These new rules I know are going to drive me batty. These All-Star Game rules are going to drive me absolutely batty. I just don't get it. I don't understand why they are going to... Okay, let me say this. They're going to honor Kobe Bryant. Yes. Absolutely yes. Okay? I get that. And I'm not dismissing it. And I'm glad they are going to honor Kobe Bryant. But you're going to do it like this? You're going to do it completely blowing up the rules? You're going to do it completely and unequivocally, for lack of a better term, messing up the game, messing up the integrity of the game by these rules? Really? Really? You're going to do something like that to honor Kobe Bryant when he was known as the Black Mamba, when his work ethic was celebrated, when his work ethic was that of legend, and this is how you honor Kobe? In an All-Star game? This is how you honor him? Really? This is how you actually plan to honor him. No, not by playing hard, not by actually playing defense, which is where Kobe Bryant excelled, not by putting in the work with your all-star teammates, not by saying, hey, let's go out there and have a competitive game. Let's go out there and not only have fun, but play hard and have a great game. No, none of that. These are the rules you come up with? I have no words. I am really stunned into silence that they're going to do this. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. That's Snowman's take. What's yours? I won't get it. I just don't understand it. I just will not understand it at all. Back after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
I gotta begin with this. What the hell were the Detroit Pistons thinking?
I have no idea, to be honest. I didn't even know Andre Drummond was up to be traded. So.
As much as you and I both have watched basketball over the years, there are some moves that are, and this applies in any sport, and my engineer and my co-executive producer, who is also my wife, is just laughing at how I brought this. In any sport, there are trades where you say, okay, that makes sense. And if I may borrow from my lovely wife, there are just trades where you just shake your head and go, the hell? This is one of them.
Look, I knew there was talks about the Lakers possibly getting Derrick Rose, and that didn't happen, obviously. So when Drummond comes out of nowhere, I'm like, and then he go to Cleveland out of all places. Why did you send him to Cleveland? They ain't no better.
Why would you send him to a place that's going to be a cesspool for a long time since you know who left?
Look, I still can't wrap my head around this. Like, you can't get rid of Kevin Love. Now you can add Andre Drummond to the cap too. Like, what are y'all doing, Cleveland? What are y'all doing?
Didn't Andre Drummond earn an extension recently?
Yes. I think it was about 2 years ago.
Then why are they getting rid of him? It's not like they're trying to stockpile draft picks because they failed in the draft for the past 5 years.
Look, the only reason why Detroit and Cleveland are not at the bottom because there's a team in New York.
Yes. Two of them if Brooklyn doesn't get their act together.
Man, I don't. Look, Andre Drummond, he's in a new scenery, so we'll see how that goes with him, Kevin Love.
He's not staying in Cleveland. I wouldn't stay in Cleveland.
Kevin Love don't want to be in Cleveland.
He doesn't have a choice. Therein lies the problem. He doesn't have a choice right now.
It is what it is.
Now, as we move on from that monstrosity of a deal, and that's the only word I can come up with, the Lakers, and I must go in on the Lakers, they've had chances over the past year to get players that will actually fit with LeBron. One of them should have been Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala took a look at that culture and said, no, thank you. Or, again, invoking my wife, as she would say, Andre Iguodala took a look at that culture and said, nope, I'm done. And he is with Miami, and I think Miami has now emerged as a front runner in the East. But I look at this as more of an indictment against the Lakers for not getting the correct piece that they needed.
That I won't say is an indictment on the Lakers. What I will say is this: they didn't trade for Derrick Rose.
No,
that's one. And then before the trade deadline ended, Marcus Morris is with the Clippers and not the Lakers.
I saw that. What is wrong with the Lakers, man? Why can't they? It's not the fact that they're not trying to get pieces to the puzzle. I understand that they are. They're just not getting the correct ones.
You know why? Because that deal that they made to get Anthony Davis is holding them up.
It wiped them out. It wiped them out.
Nobody is saying you don't make that deal because it's right. Anthony Davis.
Absolutely
but
right.
You see the consequences with that deal now.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to lose Kuzma later this year. I'm banking on that. They're going to lose Kuzma. Here's a scenario for you. Oh. What if Kuzma winds up going to the other locker room in the Clippers the same way Ivica Zubac did last year? Oops.
It's out there. Matter of fact, the reason why they didn't get more is because the Knicks wanted Kuzma. Matter of fact, all the trade parties that the Lakers talked about, they wanted Kuzma, and the Lakers weren't giving up. And they weren't giving up. They weren't going to give up Kuzma.
But Kuzma's languishing right now. He's not. I hate to say this to Laker fans that I know, but Kyle Kuzma is languishing on the Laker bench. He's being held out of the offense. Am I saying it wrong? Did I miss something?
No, that was on very vocal. He need to find something to put Kuzma in, because if they gonna make this run, because this discuss the elephant in the room here.
Yeah, the big old elephant in the room.
Everybody knows the tragedy that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
When you have Damian Lillard going up the way he did and breaking entire records with Kobe Bryant, when you have Doc Rivers saying they doing this for Kobe,
mm-hmm.
LeBron, Anthony Davis, Lakers, y'all got to rise up. And they know this.
But why haven't they? Why haven't they? I'm putting all the questions out there. When you agreed to come on my show, I warned you, and you laughed in delight, saying I was putting all the questions out there. I am putting all the questions out there. I am putting all the questions out there.
Right now, they still trying to find their way. I'm pretty much where I see the Lakers. They still trying to find the right piece, the right rotation to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a bad thing, because you're not at the end of the season. You at the mid part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have time to figure it out. But why? Because right now they like 5-6 games ahead of the Clippers, so they in first place. So,
but here's the problem: when they play teams that are inferior to them, they feast. When they play teams that are superior as them, it's a famine. And recently, a week ago, the Portland Trailblazers proved it. Right after a tragedy, mind you.
Yep. So what Frank Vogel has to do is use this time wisely. All-Star Weekend is about to come up.
Mm-hmm.
You probably got like 2-3 more games left before you hit the All-Star break. Do some thinking. Look at your lineup. Figure what pieces go well. And because once the All-Star Weekend is over,
the stretch
I'm
run
telling you right, we already know LeBron's going to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Will everybody else pick it up with him? That's the question.
That's a big question. And will Anthony Davis actually stay healthy? Because there's a stat that I've thrown out there, which is absolutely true, and people have researched it and have come back to me, and they said, Snowman, you weren't kidding. The stat is this. Since Anthony Davis has come into the league, he has not played a full season yet.
He hasn't. I don't even have to research that. I already know that. I knew that. I been knew that.
He hasn't played but see, there are folks out there, and you've talked basketball with a lot of people just as I have. There are folks out there that will challenge you and say, "Oh, that's not true," but until they go look it up. This is something I knew. No, I know. That's why I asked you on this. That's why I asked you on this program, and I figured we'd have a ball talking hoops. Because unlike other shows, I actually like to be real and present facts along with my opinion, and then back up everything with said facts.
Well, I know this. Whenever the Clippers get fully healthy,
oh, that's trouble. That's trouble waiting to happen.
Not just the Lakers. The West.
The West is in trouble. The West is in trouble. If the Clippers get fully healthy, which I have a feeling they're going to be, the Western Conference is in trouble. And to a point, the NBA may be in trouble. Here's another question. Since we're talking trades, when I asked what the hell were the Detroit Pistons thinking, I have this backup question. What the hell were the Houston Rockets thinking, since we're in the West? Why are you trading a center?
We gonna see, because what I want to believe that they're doing is that, because you got James Harden, you got Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
You got the guys that wants to get up and down the court, full speed, no stop.
Right.
So what I want to believe that Mike D'Antoni and the Rockets are doing is, all right, we know we want to run up and down the court.
Yeah.
Let us go small ball. Let us do it for a full game. Wear the other team out and have James Harden finish it off.
Here's the problem. They've tried that for 6 years. And 4 out of the last 5, they've run into the team that perfected small ball with a big man. And, of course, I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors. And each time Houston has gone up against them, they got beat.
I'm glad you said that, because I want to get this off my chest.
Go for it.
Because everybody, because I know how people think.
Mm-hmm.
James Harden is this, James Harden is that. I don't care what he does in the regular season.
It's the playoffs where you worry.
He can be the leading scorer for the regular season for the rest of his career. I don't care. When you don't have key players playing for San Antonio, you can't get drug at home to close out the series.
114-77 was that final score, and that was Game 6, 2017.
KD ain't playing. Steph ain't playing. I don't even think Klay Thompson played. You still get drug at home to close out the series in Game 7, and you couldn't 5-3 to save your life in your own building.
You know what? The Splash Brothers are inactive for this season. The Rockets go to San Francisco to play the Golden State Warriors. They're up by as many as 12, and they lose by 12. I've been following the Warriors now since 2007 as one of the 3 teams I cover for my site, Arena Sportsnet. And I can't even explain that one.
So they're gonna try it again, because Mike D'Antoni. He's one of those coaches that he's in his own way.
And he's been as, what the biggest mistake, and I want to get your thought on this. I've said this to many a Houston Rocket fan, and the real Houston Rocket fans believe every word of this sentence. The biggest mistake the Houston Rockets have made in recent times was firing Kevin McHale.
Oh. I want to say fire Kevin McHale. It's hiring Mike D'Antoni afterwards.
Well, that one too. Well, both of them then. Both are big mistakes. You replace Kevin McHale with Mike D'Antoni, a guy who doesn't preach defense at all. What is wrong with this picture?
You know how Stephen A. say you should take the D out of his name to be Mike D'Antoni, because he don't coach no defense.
This is true. This is so true. Talking with the playmaker Darnell Salinas, talking NBA trades and NBA in general. And let me get your thoughts on this. I took a look at the All-Star Game rules for this year, which is happening in my hometown of Chicago. I looked at the rules on how they want to honor Kobe Bryant, and I looked at the way they're going to honor Kobe Bryant. I understand putting $100,000 on the line at the end of the quarter. If your team wins the quarter, you give it to your favorite charity. Why are you going to reset the score at the start of the second and the third quarters, and then you take the cumulative score at the start of the fourth quarter? Wouldn't that be just run? Wouldn't be that just keep a running score anyway? Isn't that what they do anyway? Why are you resetting? Why are you resetting the score at the end of each quarter? Why is that?
So, at the end of each quarter, whoever wins the quarter, I can't think of the amount. Whoever wins the quarter, that a certain amount goes to
their favorite charity.
The charity of their choice.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's my only reason I can actually logically think of why they doing this. Because everything else is like, I'm not.
But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker.
I watched the inside of NBA with Kenny, Earl Johnson, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and she said,
yeah.
EJ was explaining to him, and all three was looking like,
what?
Why?
Look, I just got a buzz in my ear. My wife just looked and went, huh? What? She said, again, invoking her. The hell?
Look, they could have kept the rules the same. Because you already got team LeBron ran 2 for Kobe's daughter, and you got Giannis team 1 and 24.
You can keep it at that and just keep the running score. Why are you resetting the score after every quarter? What?
Not only that, when you get to the fourth quarter, whoever gets to the set number when they add the number 24, whoever has the highest number wins the game.
What are they playing? What are they playing?
You know
street
how
ball
easy
now?
to get there.
What are they playing? Street ball now? It's the fourth quarter. Here's another kicker. It's an untimed quarter. So the first 3 quarters you're playing 12 minutes, and then you play an untimed quarter. What?
Oh, you have to. You have to play an untimed quarter. That's the goal is to get to whatever the target score is. You can get that if that's about shooting threes, and the league is known for shooting threes now.
But again, to invoke Stone Cold Steve Austin, what?
I mean, I give them this though. I'll give them this. At least they trying different ways to make it better. This one doesn't work, but at least they trying. They trying to be innovative.
I repeat
but
my
this
question.
One
what?
Well.
I don't.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny that you brought that up because I got the team too because they actually did their drafts, on TNT before Giannis had to play the 76ers and the Rockets played the Lakers. So they had Giannis and LeBron take their team.
Can we just make it East and West again? Make it easier? You want to bring the fans back? Bring the East and West jerseys back.
See, the problem with that was we went through almost a whole decade knowing that the West was going to kill the East.
But that's an indictment against the Eastern Conference, I would think. Or am I just being too logical for my own good?
People nowadays, they don't want to watch something they know it's going to be a beatdown. It's the East versus the West. Oh, Lord, they got LeBron, they got Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard. Also, who does the East got? Giannis. Yeah, okay. Joel Embiid, he can't stay healthy.
Ben Simmons can't hit a jump shot.
We ain't gonna say can't hit a jump shot. He won't take one.
Which is
I don't know how many people don't say this, and it's like he don't get it.
I've said it on.
If you get a 15-foot jump shot, you know how dangerous Philly would be.
If he gets a jump shot, 15 feet, 18 feet, 20 feet, 5 feet, if he gets a jump shot, I've said this on my show since he's been in the league. I've handed out the same indictment against Giannis that I hand out against Ben Simmons. Neither one can't shoot. Giannis has changed that for me. He has changed my opinion this year. Now, the only thing missing with Giannis is consistency in hitting that jump shot. Because if he had a jump shot last year against Toronto, it wouldn't have been a contest. But Ben Simmons can't shoot.
You see, they struggling now. All of a sudden, here come Miami.
Well, look who they picked up. They picked up Andre Iguodala.
Even before they picked them up, we was looking like, where did Miami come from?
Mm-hmm. Not only Miami, you got Indiana to worry about. I'm not worried about Philadelphia. You got Boston to worry about. You got Toronto to worry about. Milwaukee, Miami, and Indiana. That's it. I'm not worried about Philadelphia. I'm not worried about Philadelphia because they're playing. You know what, Darnell? They're playing inverted. Ben Simmons can't hit an outside shot. Joel Embiid is taking too many outside shots.
Joel Embiid need to be in shape. I need Joel. You know what? I need Joel Embiid on the All-Star to get with Akeem Olajuwon.
Thank you.
On the real.
How about a combination? How about Akeem Olajuwon, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and David Robinson? How about that combination?
I even throw Shaq in there.
I'll throw Shaq in. You can throw Shaq in there. Four of the greatest to ever do it.
Dominant big man.
Four of the greatest to ever do it. Yes. You get four of the greatest to ever do it, and you. I'll tell you what, folks. I'll take you back to 1993. Shaquille O'Neal was in a commercial that involved Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain. And I remember Abdul-Jabbar saying that's not enough. I mean, Shaquille broke a backboard, and, Abdul-Jabbar said it's not enough, and he handed him a broom and a dustpan. And it got in Shaq's head. Well, that was the idea for them to get in his head, saying it's not enough. Joel Embiid has great talent. It's not enough. Joel Embiid is built physically. It's not enough. It's not enough. And Embiid hasn't gotten the message yet.
You got Bam Adebayo out here outdoing you.
He had Pascal Siakam working him last spring.
I know people out there saying, why y'all keep going about it? Because, Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, Hero.
Yep.
These dudes here are young, and they are hungry along with Jimmy Butler.
And they're outworking them.
And we sitting here looking at Philly, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons looking like,
what?
When are y'all going to pick it up?
And I believe that a failure, a playoff exit shy of the Eastern Conference Finals will cost Brent Brown his job. I'm inclined to believe that.
Brent Brown. I expected more from Brent Brown. Because
did I touch a nerve?
For those who don't know, no.
I'm just making sure.
I gotta do this. I'm a Magic fan, first and foremost.
Okay.
I'm an Orlando Magic fan.
Okay.
But there's teams that I look at and I respect them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Brown has come from under the San Antonio organization.
Yes.
From Greg Popovich.
Mm-hmm. One of the greatest to ever coach in our time. And Brent Brown is failing miserably in Philadelphia. And people are going to say to me, how can you say that? He's taking his team to the playoffs. Yeah, here's the problem. They were expected to win.
They're in the East.
There's your indictment right there.
Besides Milwaukee.
There's your indictment
Boston.
right there. You just said it. They're in the East. There's your indictment right there. There's your indictment right there. And they can't win.
Even though San Antonio is not having a great season, look what Greg Popovich is doing with this team. This team is still fighting for a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, there's the again. They're in the East. Philadelphia's in the East. Brett Brown is from the Greg Popovich tree. There are 2 indictments right there against the Philadelphia 76ers.
There's so many indictments against them, I can't even count them all.
I leave you with this. I'm going to put a rumor out there that someone beat me to, but I see happening. The Golden State Warriors traded 3 players to free up cap space to sign Karl Anthony Towns this summer.
Oh, look here. I ain't putting nothing past Cat. with word going around, he has tied the stretch of losing as a first-round draft pick. I ain't putting nothing past Cat now because Cat is not happy.
He'll be happy in San Francisco.
Cat around here putting up every number he can.
And
they still ain't winning.
It'll be Kevin Durant to the Warriors round 2. Only this time, instead of Kevin Durant, you got Karl Anthony Towns. Can you imagine Karl Anthony Towns in that system with those coaches?
Man, look. They traded D'Angelo Russell. I'm like, yo, okay, I see.
I've been trying to warn people.
Minnesota a little bit.
I've been trying to warn people. I have been trying to warn people. I would not be surprised if that deal goes down this summer. Got to let you go, but I want to thank the playmaker, Darnell Salinas, for joining me. Tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
You can find me on Anchor. You can find me on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. I'm doing some of that stuff. And we also are part of RTS Sports Network, too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Catch us on Facebook.
Yep.
Twitter. All that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have you on weekly to talk some NBA with me. I really appreciate the time, my friend. Thank you.
No problem. Have fun.
I got more for you after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait.
There's a gentleman who I kind of mercilessly picked on because he's a Packers fan for some god-awful reason. Nah, but he is a brother, and I love him, and it's about time I got him back on the program. One of the hosts of the fabulous show, The Wise Guys. This guy does know his sports. I will give him that, and I will give him that freely. This is Trey Larkins, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good, Brian. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know I had to pick on you before we got started, right?
Yeah. I know you did, man.
Yeah. This is man, for those of you who don't know, I've had Trey on the show before, a very, very dear friend. He and I love talking sports, and let's dive right into it. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. Give me your thoughts on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They won it. They won the Super Bowl, first time in 50 years. Give me your thoughts, man.
Yeah, it was a very impressive performance by the Chiefs, especially in the fourth quarter. This was the third time this postseason, Brian, where they trailed. In this game, they trailed at one point. They were down 20-10 to the Niners, so they came back from a 10-point deficit. You remember in the AFC Championship game, they trailed the Titans, and they were down by 10. And then against the Texans, obviously, they were down by 24 in the first half of that game. So the Kansas City Chiefs, I call them the comeback Chiefs because they have shown tremendous resilience this year. And when the pressure has been on them, they've always rolled and elevated their game. And in this matchup, it was no different than the first 3 games of the postseason for them. And they made plays when they had to get back in that game against the Niners.
What got them to this point, and I said this earlier in the week, is not just this postseason, 3 games of coming back from 10 points down. What got them to this point was losing in the AFC Championship last year at Arrowhead Stadium to the New England Patriots, a comeback they could not make.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely was, because when you look at the matchup against the Texans, you know, they were down 24 in the first half, and I'm, you know, texting my cousins who's in the football and my buddies, and I'm like, man, what's going on with the Chiefs, you know, because they end up getting into the playoffs, and in week 17, I don't know if you remember, the Patriots were in the driver's seat, Brian, to get the number 2 seed in the AFC. But, you know, the Patriots, they lost to the Dolphins at Gillette in week 17, so that opened the door for the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes to capture the number 2 seed in the AFC. So they had that week off. You know, maybe that was the reason why they were so, you know, off balance in that first half against the Texans. But, you know, in that game against the Texans, they roared back. They were down 24. They roared back, won 51-31. Then in the AFC Championship game, they trailed by 10. In the first half against the Titans, roared back 35-24. And then in the Super Bowl, when it really mattered the most, because at that point in the game, in the first 3 quarters, the Niners were the better team. You know, they were outplaying the Chiefs by far. But when it was time to make a play and when the money was on the line, the Kansas City Chiefs got it done in the biggest moments in that game.
21 points in 6 minutes, and the Chiefs celebrate the World Championship, their first in 50 years, as I said. I'll say it, and I've said it throughout the course of the week. Yes, the Chiefs won. They made the plays when they had to, but you can't sleep on San Francisco from here on out also. They really overachieved this year, and I believe it's going to carry them into next year and beyond.
Yeah, it definitely will. But I got to be honest, though, Brian, I got to go a different route, because I kind of feel like in this matchup, the Niners, I'm looking at Kyle Shanahan. I really feel like Kyle Shanahan, he blew this Super Bowl for the San Francisco 49ers. You remember the last Super Bowl that we seen Kyle Shanahan in, he blew that Super Bowl when he was the coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. And in the fourth quarter, in the last 10 minutes of the last 2 Super Bowls that Kyle Shanahan has been a part of, he's been outscored about 46 points. He's now scored 46-0. He hasn't even scored a single point
in the
last 10 minutes of the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. And so in this matchup, for some reason, he got away from the running game. And in the final 10 minutes, he had 12 passing plays compared to 2 rushing plays. And that's a recipe for disaster for the 49ers, considering Jimmy Garoppolo is a mediocre quarterback at best. You got to do what brought you there and what got you to the big dance. And I felt like Kyle Shanahan got away from that.
He really did. He did not call enough running plays in the ball game, in my opinion, and I said this earlier in the week as well. He got away from what brought him to the dance, which was the running game. You know, and let's take a look at this. Let's look ahead now. What could be the ceiling, if there is one, for Kansas City?
When it comes to Kansas City, I think Kansas City, man, this is a dynasty in the making. You know, when you look at Pat Mahomes in this matchup, after his second interception in the Super Bowl, Brian, he went 8 of 13. He passed for 114 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, with a passer rating of 129. So when his money was on the line, Pat Mahomes made plays, and he's only 24 years of age.
Yeah.
And you know he's about to get a big contract. We got to see what's going to happen when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're, you know, as far as who they're going to bring back, you know, because Pat Mahomes will get a lot of money. I think Pat Mahomes is the kind of player that wouldn't mind taking a pay cut to keep some of those pieces on that team so they can contend for years to come.
I know a couple of players, Sammy Watkins said the same thing. Tyreek Hill said the same thing. They want to remain Chiefs and retire Chiefs. And, you know, after winning the Super Bowl in comeback fashion, you cannot blame them. So I agree with you. This is a dynasty in the making. And if I were fans of the Patriots, or in my case with my family, the Colts, you know, you got to look at this team. This team is nothing to sleep on right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. And like I said, I really feel like they are going to be, you know, representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, you know, over the course of Patrick Mahomes' career at least 3 or 4 more times, you know, depending on the health of Andy Reid, because Andy Reid, we can't forget about Andy Reid in this Super Bowl. You know, Andy Reid is 6th all time amongst coaches in wins, and Andy Reid has had a hell of a career. And I'm going to be honest, Brian, even though I picked the 49ers to win the Super Bowl, I couldn't be more happier for Andy Reid, because I really feel like Andy Reid deserved this Super Bowl. Yes. And you heard the players speak about that after the game, and they were so happy for their head coach. So I'm really happy for Andy Reid.
I'm happy for Andy Reid as well, and I'm happy for Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I said my official pick was the 49ers, but I cannot complain because A, it was a hell of a Super Bowl. B, the Chiefs played their hearts out. Both teams played their hearts out. And C, when the money was on the line, you just had that feeling that Patrick Mahomes was going to do Patrick Mahomes things. So I, too, am happy for the Kansas City Chiefs in winning the Super Bowl. Let's turn our attention to the NBA. And there was a statement that you made online that not only got my attention, but also got me to smile. With everybody basically now appointing the Milwaukee Bucks the Eastern Conference champions, old Trey Larkin said, not so fast. Why do you say that, my friend?
I'm not sold on Milwaukee Bucks, Brian. I really feel like last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, that meltdown that took place against Kawhi Leonard and the eventual championship Toronto Raptors left a bad taste in my mouth. I really feel like the Bucks, I don't really believe that they can win a championship. And I have other teams that are in the Eastern Conference that I believe that can compete with the Bucks in a 7-game series. I believe in the Greek Freak. I'm going to make that clear. I believe in the reigning NBA MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I just really got a lot of questions about the other parts of their team. And I really wonder when you get into a 7-game series in the playoffs, when you preparing for teams and you know your matchups, I'm just wondering if those other parts on that Bucks team want to step up in those moments when they need buckets. Like I said, I believe in the Greek Freak, but I'm not so sure about their other parts. And I think teams like the Boston Celtics, and even the Miami Heat can really compete with them in a playoff moment. So we'll see what happens, but I think other teams compete with them for sure.
Miami, yes. Boston, yes. There's another team that keeps cropping up in conversation, which I say no to. You say no to Milwaukee. I say no to Philadelphia, and I'll give you 2 good reasons. Number 1, Joel Embiid cannot remain healthy. We've seen it throughout the course of his career. Number 2, Ben Simmons cannot make a jump shot. And if you can't make a jump shot when it's playoff time, you got trouble. We've seen it the last 2 years with Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think Philadelphia, Elton Brand, the general manager for the Sixers, he has to make a decision, Brian. He has to make a decision on whether or not he's going to build his team around Ben Simmons or around Joel Embiid, because I don't really believe that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons can coexist. I really don't. I think they struggle with chemistry on the floor. I believe Elton Brand has to make a decision at some point as to whether or not he's going to build his team around Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. And I think obviously the remaining thought would be to go with Ben Simmons because he's more durable. Availability is the best ability. And I believe with Joel Embiid's injury history, you would think that the Sixers may lean towards building around Ben Simmons. But we'll see what happens. I just don't think those two coexist very well.
The problem I have with Ben Simmons, and I'll say it again, he can't make a jump shot and he can't make a free throw. In fact, if my numbers are correct, he's made less than a handful of 3-point field goals this season. And the NBA has gone to more of the 3-point shot more than anything else. How does Ben Simmons fit into not only his time with Philadelphia and a future with Philadelphia, but how can he fit into a jump shooting league?
I agree with you. That's where he has struggled. And he said coming into the season that he worked on his jump shot, in the off season, but he's just not taking jump shots. That's the issue. It's not that he's missing them. It's that he's not even attempting 3-point jump shots, Brian. And I looked at the stat sheet last night. I think against the Miami Heat, he shot like 1 3-point shot. And I'm like, and then he went 4 of 7 from the floor overall. He's not being aggressive. The Sixers need Ben Simmons to be aggressive in order to be successful. And if he's not being aggressive, then that really derails their team. So I agree with you. Him not making jump shots really is hurting their team. But I still think he may be a better option to build around than Joel Embiid simply because of health. I think Joel Embiid has a higher upside than Ben Simmons when healthy. But I have questions about the durability factor when it comes to Joel Embiid. I think Ben Simmons will be available and Joel Embiid won't be.
So what finally gets the Boston Celtics over the hump? They've been close a couple of times. They were within 12 minutes of getting to the World Championship Series in 2018. The collapse happened last year. What finally gets the Boston Celtics over the hump in the East?
The leadership from Kemba Walker. And I will be honest, coming into the season, Brian, I told many people that I felt like by them letting go of Kyrie Irving, I didn't really think that you were going to upgrade the team bringing in Kemba Walker. I was wrong, and I don't mind admitting it. I think Kemba Walker meshes better with this team, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and, the players on this team. They mesh better with Kemba Walker than Kyrie. So I think I think Kemba Walker will be the difference for the Boston Celtics in the playoffs because Kemba Walker, like Kyrie, can get his own shot when he wants to, can create shots off the dribble. Obviously, he's a knockdown three-point shooter when he gets an opportunity, and he can get to the free throw line. So I think Kemba Walker will be the difference for the Celtics, and him and Jason Tatum in that pick and roll will be tough to guard for other teams in the Eastern Conference.
Can the Toronto Raptors make a run to have a chance to defend their championship?
No, I don't see it happening, Brian. With all due respect to the Toronto Raptors and them winning the championship last season, I was so happy for the city of Toronto, Drake, and Masai Ujiri and Kawhi Leonard getting it done, Kyle Lowry. I was happy for those brothers last year winning the championship, but it won't happen this year. There's just too much talent for other teams and too much firepower in the Western Conference for me to see the Toronto Raptors even get into the finals. I don't even think they'll win in the East. I think they may win a first-round series, but I think Milwaukee's better. I think Boston's better. I think Miami's obviously better. Maybe if they get Philly in the first round and Philly is discombobulated, maybe they can get Philly. But other than that, I don't really see the Raptors making any deep playoff run come April.
Let's stay in the East, and who gets that number 8 seed? There's a big there's a hell of a competition going on right now. Detroit, Chicago, Brooklyn is currently holding that spot. Chicago's 2 games out. You know, who expected the Bulls to be at this point toward the All-Star break? You know, nothing but failure for the Bulls the last couple of years, and they're sitting right there. A couple of more pieces, and they can make a run. Can the Bulls get that 8th spot?
It's possible. It's possible because I'm looking at the other teams right now that's in the race for 8th because the Sixers have a substantial lead at the 6th spot. But you look at the Nets right now, they have 22 and 27. The Magic 22 and 28. You know, none of these teams have really separated themselves that you can really say that's a lock to make the playoffs. So the Bulls definitely have an opportunity to slide into the playoff picture and, you know, get a first round matchup. They'll go home early, but just for them getting to the playoffs, you know, that'll be a major accomplishment for that Bulls franchise that's rebuilding.
Yeah, and they've been rebuilding, you know, for a couple of years. Last time they were in, of course, was 3 years ago, 2017. They lost to Boston in the first round after winning the first 2 games of that series. And finally, to see some success for these young Bulls, and they're the youngest team in the league right now, in particular having drafting Cody White out of North Carolina, Zach LaVine, who I think his snub as an all-star is a travesty to me. You know, this young Bulls team, they got some direction to fill out, but they're making some headway already.
They definitely are, and I like the way LaVine's been playing this year. He's been, you know, playing very consistent basketball, you know, putting the ball in the bucket for them. And like I said, I agree with you. I think the Bulls definitely have an up-and-coming team. You know, I know it's been a while since the Bulls have been competitive. You know, it's been a very while since Derrick Rose was in his prime.
Right.
They haven't really been competitive at all. So I agree with you. I think they keep up and coming. They keep making plays and making players better. And we'll see what happens in the future, but I really, really think they have a bright future ahead of them.
Taking a look at the Western Conference, you know, the Lakers are sitting on top right now. The Clippers are not far behind them. But I want to take a peek at the effect that Chris Paul has had on Oklahoma City and how they are playing right now. Do they have enough in the tank to get to April?
Yeah, I think they'll make the playoffs for sure, but I think they'll go home in the first round. If they get matched up against the Clippers or the Lakers, Brian, they'll go home in the first round. I think they had a great season because coming into the season, this was supposed to be a year where the Oklahoma City Thunder were in a, you know, kind of in a rebuild. You know, they weren't supposed to be competing for a playoff spot. They were supposed to be at the bottom of the Western Conference. But with the leadership of Chris Paul, they have really, really overachieved. I'll really say that they overachieved. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. But I think if they get into the playoffs, they'll probably go home in the first round. But again, the season that they had, it was an overachievement just for them to get into the playoffs. Because when they let go of Paul George and traded Russell Westbrook Houston, I said this was going to be a year where they'll be picking the top 5 of the NBA draft. But that leadership of Chris Paul and, you know, Billy Donovan on the head coaching staff for the Oklahoma City Thunder has elevated them to be in the playoff hunt. And I think they've done very, very well this season.
6 through 10 in the West is a logjam right now. It goes Dallas, Oklahoma City, who we just touched on, Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio. San Antonio's playoff streak is on the line. They're sitting in the 10th spot right now, game and a half out of the 8 spot, which is currently held by Memphis. Between Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio, who gets that number 8 spot?
Portland Trailblazers. They'll get that number 8 spot. I don't see no way in hell that Damian Lillard lets the Portland Trailblazers miss the playoffs. I just don't see it happening, Brian. And he's been on a tear lately, playing great basketball, averaging over 40 points per game. He's been playing great basketball. And I was watching the matchup against the Lakers on Friday night. It was a very emotional game for everybody. Obviously, dealing with the tragedy of Kobe or whatever. But in that matchup in Staples Center, it was Damian Lillard who had the Mamba mentality. So I like the way Damian Lillard was playing. So between those 3 teams, I would say the Portland Trailblazers are likely to make the playoffs because I just don't see Damian Lillard. I don't see him letting them miss the playoffs. I just don't see it happen the way he's playing. I
don't see that either. I'll let you close with your thoughts on the tragic death of Kobe Bryant before we go to break.
Man, it was tough for me, Brian. I'm gonna be honest. At first, when the news initially came down, I didn't believe it. I really didn't believe it. It took maybe about 2 hours or 3 hours before I actually started really realizing, like, hey, this is real. And I was really devastated about it, to be honest, because I grew up in the Kobe Bryant, era, and he was my Michael Jordan. And I really feel like sometimes when we talk about all-time NBA great, because Kobe was at the end of the Jordan era and in the middle of the LeBron era, people forget how great Kobe Bean Bryant was. We're talking about a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 18-time All-Star. This is Kobe Bryant that we're talking about. And I believe that Kobe Bryant obviously is a top 5 NBA all-time player by far. And I still believe that he's a better player than LeBron. Now, it's debatable. A lot of LeBron fans like to talk about LeBron and his all-around player and all that.
You just made me smile with that statement. You realize that, don't you?
Yeah.
Because I was in the because I had both eras. I had both Kobe and MJ. I had MJ from 82 to his retirement in 2003, had Kobe Bean from 96 to his retirement and unfortunately his untimely death. We're still in the middle of the LeBron era right now. We don't know when that's going to come to a close. So when you talk about 2 eras coinciding with each other, and of course you had the matchup that Kobe and MJ had in the All-Star game at Madison Square Garden in 1998, it was a passing of the torch at that time.
Yeah, it definitely was. And, like I said, Kobe Bryant, the thing about Kobe, he came into the league having to prove himself. He was young coming to the league. He was only 17 years of age when he entered the NBA, Brian. So he had to prove himself. Then obviously he won the championships back to back with Shaquille O'Neal. But people had questions about Kobe because they said he wasn't the best player on those teams. Well, Shaq leaves, and then Kobe, comes back, and he has Pau Gasol on his team. He wins a championship with Pau Gasol. In those championships, he was by far the best player on those teams. Won Finals MVPs in both of those Finals appearances with the Lakers. But I just always felt like when people doubted the Black Mamba, he always made you pay. And he was an assassin. He was a true definition of an assassin.
Yes, he was.
And he's the closest thing we'll ever get to Michael Jordan. And it's just, I was devastated when I heard the news about him, passing away. To be honest, I haven't felt a death like that since, Prince and, Michael Jackson died. It was devastating to me, Brian. I'm going to be honest. It broke me down.
Yeah, it broke a lot of us down, myself included. That's Trey Larkins, one half of the Wise Guys. You can catch them every week. You can also catch a replay on Arena Sportsnet. My brother, it is a pleasure to have you on. Got to have you on a lot more, my friend.
Yes, for sure, man. And be sure to always follow Wise Guys on our shows each and every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Everybody can watch us live on Facebook or Instagram. Follow Wise Guys on Twitter and WiseGuys_OH. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And Brian, man, it's always a pleasure, man. We got to do this more often.
We will do this more often. One half of the Wise Guys. This guy does know his sports. Trey Larkins joining me. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
We got more for you in a flash.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what? I did not need to be told that.
So I had the pleasure recently of being on a wonderful show called Black in Business. And I figure with this being Black History Month, I'm going to return the favor. On the hotline with me is one of the fellows who's in charge of said podcast. This is Andre Day, and he joins me right now. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, my brother. How are you?
I am doing great. First of all, let me say thank you from the bottom of my heart for letting me come on to your podcast and spreading some knowledge and spreading some love for the other podcasters, the other independent show hosts that do this just like we do. I can't thank you enough for that.
Man, listen, I tell you, I can't thank you enough for being on the show, because you gave more than what I even thought was going to be given. Like, I thought it was going to be like, regular run of the mill, and then we end by spreading love and showing love to brothers and almost putting us to tears, man. So I thank you a whole bunch for that. Thank you for being on the show.
That was one of the things I really wanted to touch on, and it's something, my wife tells me all the time. She says, maybe that can be part of your message as well as you having fun doing your sports show. Maybe you can drive that point home. And this is the point that I've driven home, for the time that she and I have been together and for a while now. There is not enough help out there in many ways for men. Let's take color out of the equation. There's not enough help out there for men who need to get back on their feet, who desire to get back on their feet, and for those who want to stay on their feet. That's why I love talking about that particular message, and I'm glad you helped me spread that message when I was on your show.
Yeah, I definitely agree. One of the things, and also one of the reasons that caused me to start the show was I wanted to spread a message not only for African Americans, but also just for the wider generation in general. A lot of individuals my age, both male and female, I don't believe they have the same drive that people before us had. And then also with that, a lot of people don't get, like you said, enough assistance to start. And I believe it starts from, like, when we grow up, where we're taught certain things and then just kind of let go, and then just thought like, oh, you're an adult, you can do it. But you get a totally different, you get like a totally different viewpoint of what adulthood is. And then when you kind of reach back out for help, there's nobody there to help you. So, spreading love and showing love to men is something that we need to do every day. Like, every moment of every day you have, say I love you to a man. It'll help out a whole lot.
And this is what a lot of men don't get. Well, a lot of men get it, but they don't voice it aloud. And I was guilty of such. I said I love you to my dad and my granddad and my uncles every day that they were here. They've all passed on now. But I don't mind one bit saying I love you to a man who is very close to me. There are some broadcasters who I say it to, and I say it live on this show. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. In fact, it's a wonderful thing to communicate that, for men to communicate that to each other without having this too PC world misconstrue why we're saying that to each other. It needs to be said a lot more often.
Yeah. And I think also it needs to be said in a way where when you say it with confidence. I feel like if I say it to you, I'm only going to say it when it's only you and I. Like, certain people don't want other people to know that I said I love you. But it shouldn't be that way. Just as well as it doesn't matter if you show affection and love to your wife. People don't want to see that, but you don't care because it's between you and your wife. So I think the same thing should be from man to a man. Like, if I love you, I don't have a problem with giving you a hug, showing you affection, saying I love you, say I appreciate you, taking care of you, things of that nature. And it really doesn't matter what other people say or how they look at me or what they may think, because it's not for them to, like, it's not for them. It's for me and you. So as long as you and I have the understanding, I can honestly care less about what other people think.
And that's
really where I think a lot of people don't show it, is because they believe or think, oh, I don't want this person to think differently of me or what this person might say. And it really is affecting you more than what you may know.
It really is. It really does affect the person that, you know, thinks aloud and thinks constantly about what other people think. I've had to learn from other people, my wife included, and my daughter and my son included. You know, you can't think about what people say or think about you. That's just going to affect you. Do I have my days where I slip back into that? Absolutely. And I say that I say that aloud, and I say that with conviction, because I'm still learning a lot from my wife and her family, and I'm learning a lot about myself at the same time. Being on your show where I was allowed to express what I felt, and not just in the sports world, but just in life, that meant a lot to me. I can't thank you and your partner enough for allowing that to happen and allowing that message to be spread. That needs to be spread more often. So if men can communicate like that, do you know how different this country, let alone this world, will be?
I think people are afraid of what might happen. When I grew up, I saw a lot of things in person and a lot of things that are on TV that don't really show men loving each other. So adults now that are in my age bracket, you know, late 20s, early to mid 30s, don't have that I love you type of mentality. So what happens in turn is that you have an issue, you deal with it by yourself, and then when you don't know how to get the results you need to make a better outcome for yourself, you start lashing out and doing things that you normally wouldn't do. So to answer your question, if we express love to one another more often, I think we would have, number one, happier individuals. And number two, we would be able to think more clearly and start doing things that would help us with a better life instead of putting us where we are in that mentality of crabs in a barrel, trying to keep everybody down. We would want to see everybody move up. So I think it would have an effect that I don't think the world is ready for on the African American side. Like, if we really put our minds together and stick to one another, I think we can be, actually I know we can be a force to be reckoned with.
Where did you grow up? Let's find out more about Andre. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn. Both my parents are from New York. I lived in New York for about 7 or 8 years or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I moved to New Jersey for about a year or two. And after New Jersey, I moved to Maryland. And I've been here in the Maryland, D.C. area since, let's say, 9th grade or so.
Wow.
9th or 10th grade. Yeah.
Wow. So you're originally from New York. I can hear that accent come out. Where's your sports loyalties lie? Which teams get you at the heart?
Well, I am a football fan, so my first team at heart would be the Giants.
Good man.
I also like to see the Jets every once in a while, just because they're also New York. I don't really watch a lot of baseball, but it does feel nice and feel good to see the Yankees do something well.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I would say basketball. I was into the Celtics, but after they dismantled the Kevin Garnett and the Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, I kind of spread away from the Celtics. Right now, I'm just kind of open. I like kind of any basketball team as long as it's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really watch a lot of hockey, but people tell me I need to get into it because it's a really good and interesting sport. And that's really about it for sports.
Now, I'm going to tease you because I do have love for the New York Football Giants. I loved it back in the day when Bill Parcells and Bill Walsh would hook up and go at it, be it at the old Giant Stadium or at old Candlestick Park. You're not into basketball that much?
Not like I used to, no. Like I said, I used to be a Celtics fan, but once they dismantled that amazing team, I just kind of, I don't know, I went away.
Good. Then I can say Michael Jordan and get away with it.
I mean, hey, listen. Even though you don't watch basketball, you know who Michael Jordan is.
Yes. Thank you.
He was on the Wheaties box. He was on every magazine. I mean,
he was all over the place.
Any country, you walk into any country and say MJ, there's only one person that, I mean, they might do Michael Jackson, but only those two have MJ. There's no other MJs that are prominent in everybody's mind. So, yeah, you're fine with Michael Jordan. That's cool.
So true. And I've spoken to a couple of hardcore Knicks fans, and I kid them a lot. And I said, well, I guess I can't say Michael Jordan, and they start growling at me, but then we all start laughing at it. But I love having conversations like this during the show that, gives people the other side of the shows and the podcasts that I do. So that's why I wanted to bring you on, and you got to tell me how did you get your podcast started?
Well, in a previous job I had, I was just kind of sitting in the office, and it was a Friday afternoon, I believe. And I'm just sitting there pondering, like, what else can I do besides work every day, same job, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on Saturday, and just go home? Like, there has to be something else I can do. So I started just thinking, like, I'm not really putting my business degree into play, because this job that I had at that time, really anybody can do. And I really wasn't doing much of a side hustle per se. So my supervisor at the time walked through the door, and as soon as he walked through the door, a light bulb came into my head, and I was like, ooh, I can do something that promotes small businesses, but how can I do it? So, I sleep on it. I think about it for a couple of days, and I go, well, I can do a podcast. Well, how do I do one? I did my research, and once I found out that you can literally start a podcast for free, it was a no-brainer after that. Only thing I needed was people to have on the show. As long as you have an email address and a place to host your podcast, it's essentially free. You don't have to buy anything. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from your laptop. I think the only thing that you may need to buy if you want to get fancy is a microphone. Yeah. But everything else is essentially free. So once I got that idea, I just started reaching out to people and letting them know, like, hey, I want to start a podcast and, promote small business owners and kind of discuss with them how they started and, what they do to keep themselves going and things of that nature. And, I got a few people to say, hey, yeah, no problem, I'll be on your show. And I was kind of taken back, like, oh, really? You want to be on my show? So, okay. Like, I was kind of nervous at that point. But then I said, this is what I wanted to do. And I did it. So it just kind of went from there.
Well, I am very proud of you. I am very proud to have been a guest on your podcast. You and I share a mutual friend, Stephen Askins of the Inside Inside Football Blitz. He was on your program, and he was the guy that led me to you and led me to your podcast. So I am very, very proud to be a guest on your podcast. I'm proud to have you on this show. And tell everybody where they can find you, my friend.
Oh, so they can find me, I would say the easiest way is to, you can email us at blackinbusinesspodcast@gmail.com. They can find us on Facebook, which is Black in Business Podcast. It can also be found on Instagram, which is Black_in business. And We're located at, on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcast. We're on, what is that other one? Spotify. And I believe those are the three major ones. I mean, we're on some other smaller ones I can't think of right now, but those are the three major ones at this point.
Hey, folks, check out the Black in Business podcast. I was a guest on it. If you know someone that has a small business, and this is Black History Month, if you know someone that has a small business and they want to get featured, this is the guy you contact. This is the podcast that you're on, and you get featured on this show as well. Andre Day, one half of the Black in Business podcast, joining me here on the program. I can't thank you enough. And I recommend to the folks again, I recommend to the community, please go check out the Black in Business podcast. Thank you for your time, my friend. I can't wait to have you back on.
I appreciate it. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to my co-host, Bearded Wonder. Once you guys listen to the show, you'll see why he's such an awesome person. And I'm glad to have him as a co-host, and I can't wait to just continue to bring you guys more episodes.
Absolutely. One day I'm going to get you both on the program so we can really have some fun with it. Thanks a lot, my friend.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Speaking of small business, there's a lady by the name of Jennifer Garrett who will join me next after the break.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
He's back, and we're ready to talk all things NBA All-Star Game. William Morgan, one of my basketball aficionados, is back. How are you, my friend?
Hey, nice to be back, man.
Okay. I talked about this on Friday with my buddy Michael Lyle and one of my good friends, Darnell Solins. Who the hell came up with these rules for this year's All-Star Game?
The thing that kills me, they're doing it to me. They're doing it to try to increase viewership. But the thing about it, the names are so big, you're gonna get views from it regardless.
Mm-hmm. Why can't it be East and West again?
Right.
Can we just go back to East and West?
I'm there with you. Particularly with the way Giannis picks. He's picking his best friends.
Yes. This is why I don't like the captains. This is exactly why I don't like the captains. Because remember, the first year it was LeBron and Steph. And to be perfectly honest, Steph got screwed out of a couple of great players to be on his team.
He did.
Steph got screwed, okay?
He did.
So why can't it be just East and West? I guess the East got tired of getting beat up by the West. Like, if you want to be the team, beat the team. Exactly. Why don't people get this concept?
Exactly. And to be fair, Giannis might have been thinking the same way you were thinking, because most of that team is from the Eastern Conference.
Yes. So it should be East and West anyway. They just need to call it East and West and be done. This year's All-Star Game is in Chicago, my hometown. It's in the United Center. Last time it was in Chicago, it graced old Chicago Stadium. That, of course, was 1988. Here are the rules as I understand them, and you're allowed to laugh at any given time that I try to explain this.
Okay.
Each quarter begins 0-0. So if Team LeBron beats Team Giannis, say 30-25, then Team LeBron wins $100,000 for the charity of their choice.
Okay.
Then you reset the score. Yeah, you know this is going to sound crazy. Then you reset the score for quarter two, and if Giannis beats LeBron by that same score, then Team Giannis wins $100,000 for the charity of their choice. You reset the score again for quarter three, And remember, each of the first 3 periods are 12-minute quarters. You reset for period 3, and if Team LeBron wins again, then they get $100,000 for their charity. Now, if the quarter ends in a tie, then you roll the money over to the next quarter, and whoever wins the quarter wins the whole pot for their charity.
Right.
Folks, I'm as tongue-tied as you are trying to decipher this mess. Now,
what happened to the day?
Here's the kicker. I didn't give you the best part. The first 3 quarters are 12-minute quarters. Okay? The fourth quarter is an untimed quarter. So they take the cumulative score of the first 3 periods, say Team LeBron leads 85-80. All Team LeBron would have to do to win the game, and this is where they honor Kobe, is tack on 24 points.
There you go.
So if Team LeBron scores, whoever scores 109, and this is the example that I was given, then that team would win the All-Star game. I have so many questions, which begin with, why the hell wouldn't you keep the running score anyway?
Right. Right. I don't get it. What has happened to the days of us having a traditional All-Star weekend? Now, if you want to do a slam dunk competition, the 3-point shootout, you can do a big man's competition. You can do a 1-on-1, which I would love to see between certain players.
I mean,
and then do the traditional All-Star game.
Bring back the old-timers game.
Yeah.
You got enough folks that bring back the old-timers game. Okay? Yep. That was one of the features of the weekend.
I'm with you.
You play 2 halves, making a running clock, you're good. Bring back the old-timers game. I'm with you. This skills competition, for lack of a better term, to me, is boring.
It is. It is.
I understand the slam dunk. I understand the 3-point competition, and nothing will top 1988 when Michael Jordan won in front of his hometown fans. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
That's when Michael Jordan tore the roof off the joint.
Yep.
What has happened? And I plan to have Courtney Harden on later this week to discuss this same subject that we discussed a few years ago. What has happened to All-Star Weekend? What has happened to the luster that is All-Star Weekend?
Corporate, I believe, plays a hand in it, so to speak. And certain players not wanting to compete, or certain players dropping out after they said they would compete that you would want to see. I'm thinking that those are the 2 biggest factors on why this All-Star Weekend isn't what it used to be. And it's just a damn shame, because I can remember, man, like it was yesterday, Dominique, Spud, Jordan, all those for the slam dunk competition. But yet and still, we got LeBron James who won't do it.
You know what? I've always had a problem with that. I understand. Look, MJ put in his years as a slam dunk king. All right? He had nothing more to prove on that realm. Then, of course, he goes on and wins 6 championships. He had nothing left to prove. Why do you think LeBron James will not get in the slam dunk competition? What's up with that?
I don't know. Maybe not now in year 17, but back when it was year 9, year 10.
He could have easily participated.
Yep.
He could have easily participated.
Yep. And let's not forget this also. Jordan embarrassed himself in the 3-point competition.
Yeah, he did.
But at least he went out there and tried. LeBron can't try to slam dunk.
And you would think it would be one of his specialties.
Yeah.
You would think it would be one of his specialties. Here's a funny moment. Here's a funny moment, and I know a lot of LeBron fans are going to get on me about this, but you honor Kobe, in the Staples Center, if you're the Lakers and Lakers fans, I'd be a little upset for this reason. You honor Kobe on a Friday night, a full house, a lot of folks watching outside, and then you go out and lay an egg against the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, that's a problem.
They laid a big fat egg against the Portland Trailblazers. They allowed 127 points to the Portland Trailblazers. And also, if you're a Lakers fan, I'd be worried about this. You're playing the worst team in the league in the Golden State Warriors. Why did you allow them to hang around on Saturday night?
Yeah.
Why did you allow them to They're not playing their best ball right now.
No. They're what? They're playing 500 ball the last 11, 12 games. They're playing 500 ball right now, so they're not looking very, very good.
and in many ways, neither are the Clippers. They got smashed by the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. If you're playing the worst team in the league, and I go back to the Lakers, if you're playing the worst team in the league and you allow them to hang 120 points on you, you win by 5 in San Francisco. But remember, this is the same Warriors team playing shorthanded that beat the Houston Rockets by 12 on Christmas Day.
Yep. Amen. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be getting up. They played down to their competition, and they shouldn't.
And for me, that's always been an issue with LeBron, playing down to his competition. I'm sorry, I have to speak it the way it is truthfully seen by my eyes. It just seems that with LeBron, even though he's in year 17, he plays down to his competition.
Yep.
He plays down to his competition. He's always, since he's been in the NBA, and we're talking about an incredible 17-year career, we're talking about since 2003, doesn't it seem to you, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth at all, but just follow me here, doesn't it seem to you like he's playing down to his competition instead of up?
Yes.
So
I believe you.
So why has he not gotten the message yet that he has a bullseye on his back and has for 17 years?
He needs to, because a lot of these games, everybody keeps saying that LeBron is this, LeBron is that better than Jordan. But the thing that's killing LeBron, I think, is his thought process in these games. Instead of coming out and taking over and setting the tone for his team and getting AD in, and he's trying to pass too much. He's trying to defer too much.
Yeah.
AD is fine because you got to feed AD in the post. That's fine.
Absolutely.
But when you're trying to get other guys who's come up short this year, i.e. Kyle Kuzma, you can't do that. You need to come out and be the tone setter. Get your own game going. Once you get your game going and your shot falling, then you go ahead and start facilitating to AD and other people. But get your game going first. And a lot of times out of LeBron, you don't see that.
You really don't. And he's so afraid, in my opinion, in a lot of games, he's so afraid to get his game going because he doesn't want to take away from others. And that part I understand. That's a lot of MJ, okay? But the difference is, Michael knew he can take over a game at any given time.
Yep. Exactly.
The biggest difference is Michael knew he can take the game over at any time. So,
and you're even seeing, and if you even look at, I don't mean to cut you off, but even if you look at LeBron, he's even being exploited defensively.
Yeah. He's been exploited defensively for the last 5 years. And everybody wants to go back to that chase down block in 2016 when he got Andre Iguodala. And I'm so glad the next year the Warriors got even, but that's a discussion for another time. Like, oh, that's the greatest defensive play I've seen in finals history. Please. I've seen much better, much earlier. Apparently, if that's the greatest defensive play, the chase down block by LeBron, is that the greatest? If that is the greatest defense play that you see in the NBA World Championship Series, obviously you haven't seen Larry Bird do his thing. Obviously you haven't seen Magic Johnson or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar do his thing. Obviously you haven't seen the bad boy Detroit Pistons do their thing. The Bulls, the Spurs. I'm going there. I'm going all the way there. Obviously you haven't seen those teams do their thing. Okay?
Yep. And even though they lost the other night, I still like the Clippers coming out of the West.
Yeah.
Because their strengths are A, they got that dog in them, but B, look at what they hit you with.
Mm-hmm.
They hit you with the start, and then they bring Morris, they bring Lou Williams off the bench. Oh my goodness! And while the Lakers are long and they're tall as a team, but
they're short on the bench.
Right. They're short on the bench. You can't count on Rondo anymore.
Nope.
I don't know what you might get something off Caruso, because he'll probably take Rondo's minutes now. But for the most part, I'm loving the Clippers right now. Clippers Bucks. I'm calling it now.
You know something? Here is a move the Lakers should have made, and I said this on Friday's NBA podcast, and I'm saying it now, and I think you'll agree with me. The fact that the Lakers didn't even blink trying to get Andre Iguodala is an indictment against the Lakers.
I think it's more on an indictment on the fact that they're trying to keep their core, and they look at Danny Green, they look at Kyle Kuzma as part of their core. And you look at LeBron, you look at Kuz, you look at Danny Green, look at AD. That's what they want. Anybody else is up for trade. The problem is nobody else wants those players.
No. And I wouldn't either.
That's the problem.
And I wouldn't either.
That's the problem.
I wouldn't want them either. I mean, why would you even take that? Why would you even take that chance?
Nope.
Why would you even take that chance? And again, I say that the lack of moves by the Lakers, especially when Andre Iguodala has been available all season, is an indictment against the Lakers, because it shows me they don't want to win, because they had a chance to get a proven winner. Nothing against LeBron, nothing against AD, nothing against Rajon Rondo. But you had a chance to get a proven winner in Andre Iguodala. 3 championships in 5 seasons. He was in the best culture. He was in the best basketball culture for 8 years, and you didn't go after him. Why?
Another thing that's indicted, that's kind of got me upset too. If you really, really wanted to trade Kyle Kuzma, they didn't showcase him at all.
Nope.
You could have showcased him within that second unit, but they didn't do it.
Nope. And they don't want to do it. My feeling is they don't want to do it. They want to hold on to him in case some even bigger trade bait or free agency bait comes around, i.e. Karl Anthony Towns. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't think will happen, but I think will. Karl Anthony Towns will end up in the Bay.
I think so too. Because now they have assets. Now they have assets to do it by getting rid of D'Angelo. So they have some assets. So I can see that happening. And Rob Pelinka.
They snatched Andrew Wiggins. The Warriors snatched Andrew Wiggins in a one-on-one trade for D'Angelo Russell. Now, Russell is busy, has been proving himself all year. I understand that. But the Warriors need some depth on that bench. And they're getting it. And they're also getting a lot of draft picks. Here is the biggest piece of the puzzle that I see happening this summer, and if I'm totally wrong, I am totally wrong. All these draft picks that the Warriors have available, I say they will still be able to get Karl Anthony Towns and not sacrifice one of them.
They might.
It may, if they cost anything for Golden State, it'll be the same kind of deal that the 49ers made for Jimmy Garoppolo. Give up a second-round pick and you get your franchise quarterback. They'll give up a second. The Warriors will give up a second-round pick, if not two, and they'll get another franchise player that they can keep in their system for a good 4 to 5 years, because they have their core. They have their core. They got Stephen Curry. They got Klay Thompson. They got Draymond Green. Okay? And Green is the only one that's been healthy all year long. My point is they can easily talk to Minnesota and say, look, we'll give you a few second-round picks if you give us Karl Anthony Towns, because now you get Minnesota thinking young again. They already gave up Andrew Wiggins for a song, and I got nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all. Don't get me wrong. Nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all.
Yep.
Nothing against D'Angelo Russell at all. But at the same time, the Warriors are thinking 4 or 5 years down the road when they rule the roost again. I have a feeling this summer Karl Anthony Towns will come to San Francisco, and he won't even blink when they make their offer.
I can see that because it's a winning culture. And they'll have Andrew Wiggins there to be Harrison Barnes 2.0.
Yep.
So I can definitely see that. And you
can see the Warriors rebuilding right in front of our eyes, and no one will say it. No one will say it because everybody that thinks they're an NBA fan, and you and I have spoken about this before, any and everybody that thinks they're an NBA fan are celebrating the fact that the Warriors are having an awful season in the midst of their dynasty. And they're still a dynasty because they've won 3 titles in 5 years. This is a horrible year because they lost Kevin Durant to free agency. You lose Klay Thompson in the World Championship Series. You lose Stephen Curry at the top of the season. I mean, what are you going to do? You're without 3 of your best players. And Kevin Durant hasn't played 1 minute this season, and I don't think he'll play 1 minute next season. I don't think he'll play for 2 years. And he's going to languish in Brooklyn. Unless that injury heals the way it is supposed to heal and the way he wants it to heal, because you're talking about one of the most gifted, athletic 7-footers with a consistent jump shot. Pay attention, LeBron. With a consistent jump shot that can knock it down from anywhere as well as post people up. That ACL injury is going to mess him up for 2 years, because if you look at all the reports, and if you know anything about physiology, that MCL injury takes 2 years to heal. 2 years. So Klay Thompson is lost for this year. We all know that. He's probably going to be back in October because the Warriors lost him in June. Okay? So when June comes around, it'll be 1 full year. You give him another 5 months on top of that, he'll be fine. Stephen Curry will be fine. Kevin Durant will not.
And he still won't be 100%. He might be maybe, 80, 85?
If that.
Yeah.
If that.
He won't be 100%. He won't be 100%.
And also,
he may have to adjust his game a little bit.
And also, who's to say Kyrie Irving will be there after this year? The way this year's going.
Look. I am a Spencer Dinwiddie fan. Dinwiddie, I'm sorry. And I am a big fan of his. He's doing it when Irving's not in there. He's been tasked with the job of running the team, and he's been doing a doggone good job and making a lot less money. So if Kyrie Irving can't come back, hey, so be it. He's been doing a great job. He's been doing a fantastic job. And if he can't come back or can't come back healthy, hey, you have somebody there who can run that point guard position.
Absolutely. I mean, the Nets are a mess. Even though they're competing for a playoff spot right now.
Huge mess.
They can
mess.
Here's the point with the Nets. They can get to April, but this team won't get beyond April. Big problem.
Nah. Can you imagine if the Nets was over in the West? They would stand a chance coming out of the West.
They would
not one shot coming out of the West.
Not a chance at all. Not a chance at all. Not with the way this team's constructed.
And there's a whole lot of disappointing teams in the league this year. The Nets are so much disappointing. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, God.
Very disappointing given the talent on that team. Miami's gotten stronger. Toronto's holding back. And of course the Bucks. It's the Bucks. I mean, They're playing good basketball right now. That's the team to beat right now. That's the team to beat.
Well, you mentioned a team that I have not been sold on since they drafted Ben Simmons, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. Mm-hmm. I said earlier in the season that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will cost Philadelphia more than enhance them. Ben Simmons can't make a jump shot. Joel Embiid's taking too many jump shots. He won't camp in the lane.
And another thing I don't understand about Joel Embiid, he be having the craziest injuries or reasons why he can't play.
Right.
It's like, what, stomach flu, stomach virus? Not saying that it's not devastating, but, bro, how old are you?
Yeah. Yeah, that can happen to anybody. Here's another move the Lakers should have made, and they didn't. Why didn't they go after Derrick Rose? Because the Lakers are in desperate need of a point guard right now. Rajon Rondo is not the answer.
There's a story out there, too, that I think Detroit wanted Caruso, was going to give him Rose. Lakers denied it.
I wonder who denied that deal.
I don't know. It could have been Pelinka. It could have been Buss. It could have been Vogel.
Pelinka.
I don't know.
Listen, it ain't Pelinka. You and I both know, and by that evil laugh, you already know the answer. Pelinka didn't deny that trade. Come on. Who the hell do you think denied that trade?
Yeah, we know it was.
Who the hell do you think, whose name ain't Rob Pelinka or Jeannie Buss, put the kibosh on that move?
It was Bron. It was Bron. And if he did put the kibosh on it, it was stupid. Derrick Rose is playing very, very well right now.
Yeah.
And he could have been a benefit to the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Inside outside game. Danny Green posting up for threes, him driving, penetrating, kicking back out to him, setting him up for the 3-point shot. But you can't do that now because he's gone. He's still at Detroit.
And two moves were there for Los Angeles to make. They could have gotten Derrick Rose, and they could have gotten Andre Iguodala. And I'm willing to bet you, there is one person and one person only who put the kibosh on both of those trades.
Ron.
Yep. And I have another rumor in my head of why. They're going after Ben Simmons.
Whoa!
I have this strange feeling because Ben Simmons is a part of Clutch Sports.
He is. They made it.
Yeah. Who do you think? Yeah, he may have signed an extension with Philadelphia. But who do you think? And nothing against the players, okay? This is just what I feel. Who do you think sniffing around trying to get Ben Simmons on his team?
Oh yeah.
No other team.
You're wrong.
Yeah, no other team wants Ben Simmons for the simplest of fact. Ben Simmons, for the life of me, cannot hit a jump shot.
And I don't understand it either because I looked at him early in the season when he was over with Rico Hines doing those Rico Hines runs. He wasn't even trying to shoot then.
Nope. And he ain't trying to shoot now.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. You have to continue to develop your game, and for some reason, it's like even if you get a mid-range, DeMar DeRozan's got a mid-range. Even if you get a mid-range game, it will serve you well. He don't even have that.
DeMar DeRozan's career is going to last a lot longer than Ben Simmons' career is because Ben Simmons, if he doesn't get traded to the Lakers within 2 years, Ben Simmons is finished.
I think he'll be regarded as a bust if something doesn't happen within the next couple of years. Because if he's not going to take it upon himself to develop that jumper, at least Giannis developed the jump shot.
Yep.
You see Giannis taking more outside shots now. That's what Ben Simmons needs to do. That's what Zion needs to do. And I don't understand why these players don't want to develop a jumper.
And I'm not too high on Zion either. I've never been high on Zion Williamson. You know what? We'll close with this point, and I want your thought on this before we close up shop here. Zion Williamson is playing out of position. He is playing way out of position. If he were to lose 40 pounds and really get in basketball shape and develop a jump shot, he could be a 2 guard. Easy. He doesn't have the handles to be a point guard. He doesn't have the jump shot to he can post people up, because of his sheer size.
Right.
But people will figure that out in a heartbeat. Just ask Harrison Barnes.
He knows all about that. He knows all about getting figured out.
Just ask Harrison Barnes.
I've gone out and said I think Ja Morant's going to be a better rookie and a better overall player between the two, because he won't have the weight issues that Zion's going to be facing with each and every year of his career, particularly when he got drafted, because he got drafted. He's with the Pelicans. You know that he's good down in New Orleans now. All that intrastate and all that red and black gumbo.
And that's what everybody was afraid of. That's what everybody was afraid of when Zion got drafted. And why did it take this long? His weight is a problem.
Yep. And Ja may stay in the game maybe 10 more pounds of muscle, but outside of that, I think Ja's going to be a better player than Zion overall.
Ja is more developed than Zion is. Ja actually has a jump shot. Ja actually has court knowledge. Ja actually is willing to make his game better.
And then on the other end, despite his slender size, he does put effort on defense, too.
That he does. He's going to be a defensive dynamo when he really gets developed. Got to go to a break, but let me thank William Morgan for coming on to the program, talk all things NBA. You'll hear this conversation on the NBA podcast. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, man. Have a great night.
Well, I'm done for this edition of the program. I want to thank you for joining me. Don't forget to follow SNW Digital Media on your favorite social media outlet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. I'll be back tomorrow with another full program. Don't forget, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope you all are too. Until tomorrow, Snowman's out of here.